بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما إلى علمنا ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. فإنشاءالlah we'll finish this bab ما جاء في جامع الوقوت, that comprehensive chapter regarding what has come regarding the times. And we have in front of us one narration left, and the statements of Imam Malik. As it relates to the statements of Imam Malik, then we'll find that the Muwatta'at, the various different Muwattas, they are full of the statements of Imam Malik. They are full of the statements of Imam Malik. And because these statements of Imam Malik were just the statements that his students would jot down from their teacher, you'll find that different Muwatta'at have the statements of Imam Malik differently. Whether it's just simple wordage is different, or whether it is some of them will have more statements while some of them will have less, or whether it's some of them will have statements that aren't even part of the other. So some of them will say things that the other books won't even mention from the statements of Imam Malik, because it's basically whatever the student thought was important and necessary, he would document and jot down. And Imam Malik himself, rahimahullah ta'ala, would often probably repeat the same notes, meaning that potentially Imam Malik had his master copy that he would read from and teach from, and he would have those same notes that he would say over and over again whenever he came to this or that hadith. And that's why we find so much similarity. But just like any teacher or any student, if he said something that might have popped into his mind at one time, whatever student was there for that would have gotten that benefit to the exclusion of other students. And if a student didn't find it necessary to write it down, or missed a word, or jotted it down by meaning, then like this we'll find those discrepancies in the Muwatta. And these qualities, when we talk about the additions of Imam Malik, right, the statements of Imam Malik, the balaghat, the things that we had in the last chapter where Imam Malik says it reached him without mentioning any chain of it, the marasil, the narrations where Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala narrates on a tabi'i who narrates directly on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These matters are what excluded the Muwatta of Imam Malik from being included, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, from being included in as-Sihah, right? From being counted amongst the most authentic books. So Bukhari and Muslim, a person might ask, why isn't the Muwatta of Imam Malik on the same level with them? And the reason is Bukhari and Muslim, especially Muslim, they stripped down their book from anything that wasn't a statement of the Prophet ﷺ. Right? Bukhari, he has a couple of things in there, and he does a little bit more. But as far as the point of his book, then it's only for what is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ. While Imam Malik, his book wasn't set up with such an ideal in mind. And for that reason, they exclude Imam Malik's book from being considered one of the Sihah, one of the fully authentic books. While in reality, every hadith in the Muwatta of Imam Malik is deemed authentic. Every hadith with a chain, right, is deemed authentic. So that's just something to understand when it comes to these statements of Imam Malik. We're going to find that whole chapters might be just the statements of Imam Malik at time. And one thing I've often noticed, or I consider, is that the further along you move in fiqh, right? First of all, we know that fiqh is divided into how many categories? When we talk about Islamic jurisprudence, Islamic law, how many categories is it divided into? Do we know them? We got fiqh al-ibadat, the fiqh that deals with the worship of Allah. And this includes salat, zakat, saum, and hajj. These four topics are known as fiqh al-ibadat. And then we have fiqh al-mu'amalat, the fiqh of interactions between the slave and other creation. And there's a transition chapter here, which is jihad. So jihad is somewhat an act of worship, because jihad is for the establishing of the kalimat of Allah to be ulya, to be the uppermost. So it's an act of worship, but it's also an interaction. And so you find that chapter usually coming after Hajj, where it's somewhat in fiqh al-ibadat, but also the first chapter in interaction. And then interaction, it talks about it from the same timeline or the same consistency of how you would go about your interaction, more often than not. So the first thing you need is money. In your life, in your interaction, the first thing you need is money. So they talk about buying and selling. And then they talk about marriage. And then they talk about child raising and divorce and things like that until you get into inheritance, etc., up until your death. So that's the chapter of interaction. And some of the scholars of fiqh, they break interaction up and they make general interaction one chapter, and they make marriage and divorce a separate section of fiqh. So we're either at 2 or 3. And then the final section of fiqh is what is known as crimes and punishments, right? When you talk about the crimes that an individual can commit and the punishments that he deserves for those crimes. And they include with that oaths and testimonies, because that's something that is related to an individual when he goes to court. You know, crime and punishment, he has to swear the oath that he did do it or didn't do it. All of that, I mention it to say that if you know how fiqh is broken up, in fiqh al-ibadat, there's tons of evidence, right? There's tons of direct statements of the Prophet ﷺ about even the most minute and detailed issues. While the further along you go, you find that the evidence becomes less detailed and more general. And the statements of the scholars become more detailed because it's them doing this reasoning and this istinbat, this extracting the answers from the general text to arrive at their conclusions. And that's why the disagreement in those later chapters is a lot more than it is in the early chapters in fiqh al-ibadat and things like that. And so I say that to say that you'll find that there'll be whole chapters where it's just Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, talking about his position or the position of the scholars of Medina. And so like this, we have in front of us now an example of this in this Jami' Babu ma ja'a fi Jami' Uqut as-Salat. And so far he was talking about in this chapter that which relates to missing salah. That which relates to missing, whether it be specifically asr, like in the hadith of Ibn Umar, or general, missing salat in general, like in the statement of Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Ansari, إن الرجل إن المصلي ليصلي وما فاتته ولما فاته من الوقت خير أو أعظم أو أفضل من ماله وأهله من أهله وماله. Whether it be talking about missing Salat al-Asr specifically or missing Salat in general, whether it be talking about missing the preferred time, or whether it be talking about missing the Jama'ah, we see that the conversation so far has been centered around, like when we talk about ma ja'a fi jami' al-wuqut, it's mostly about missing Salat. That's what this chapter is about. What to do if an individual misses Salat. And so here, he's going to talk about now in his statements some of the different ways to rectify, or some of the different ways to make up what you missed. So if we say that the conversation is about missing Salat, then what do you do if you miss Salat? This is something that needs to be discussed. And so he says, the first thing he talks about, he says, ساعدني. The first one. من أراد السفر من أخر الصلاة من أدركه الوقت وهو في سفر فأخر الصلاة ساهيا أو ناسيا. Right? Whoever أدركه الوقت. So right now we're talking about, okay, an individual catches the time. He is in the time. وكيف يدرك الوقت? How does he catch the time? What is considered catching the time?
In its proper times.
What is considered catching the time of Salah? He says, "Men adrakahu al-waqt." How do we know if the time caught him or not?
He was in that time frame. I mean,
How do we know he was in that time frame? What can we use to determine was he in the time frame or not?
Sun, the night.
that
A rak'ah. Did he catch enough of that time? Because the person was alive during that time. You see what I'm saying? But how do we know he caught the time?
No, I'm not the rak'ah.
He caught the amount of a rak'ah. Man adrakahu al-waqt. Wa huwa fi safar. Meaning he was traveling, and the time he was traveling, he had caught a rak'ah of the time. Whether it be a rak'ah in the beginning of the time or a rak'ah at the end of the time. You see what I'm saying? Why is that important? We're going to see. Man adrakahu al-waqt wa huwa fi safar. While he was traveling, فَأَخَّرَ الصَّلَاةَ سَاهِيًا أَوْ نَاسِيًا. And so he delays the salat sahiyan. What is sahu? A sahu is to forget something because you've been occupied by something else. A sahu is when you forget something because you've been busied by something else. Right? And we know this term, salatu sahu, sajdatu sahu, right? It's because your mind got occupied with something else, and so you pray 2 prostrations of forgetfulness. A sahu is specifically forgetting because you were busy with something else. When nisyan is to be absent-minded about it, for it to escape your mind, right? It's not that you were necessarily busy with something else. It's just that that thought escaped your mind. This is how it relates to human beings. To be oblivious to information that you knew.
Because of the nature of human, he forgets.
Right. To be oblivious to the information that you knew. And that's why we say it's as it relates to human beings.
Yeah.
Because Allah has nisyan. Right? Nasullah fanasiyahum. But Allah's nisyan is not that he is oblivious to information that he knows. It's that he disregards it, doesn't care about it. He leaves it. So while humans, our forgetfulness can be because of absent-mindedness, can be because of forgetfulness, if you will. The forgetfulness, if you want to call it that in English, the nisyan, or the fact that Allah yansahum, is that he just doesn't care about them. He disregards them on purpose, by choice. And so the point is that some of them say that this is the difference between a sahu and a nisyan. A sahu, فَأَخَرَ الصَّلَاةَ سَاهِيًا. He delayed the salat sahiyan, meaning he wanted to pray, but he was doing something else. And that busied him so much that he didn't pray because of what else he was doing. He was traveling, he was filling up his tank, he was busy making sure everybody was accounted for, he was getting the meals prepared, he was setting up the tent. Whatever he was doing, he was traveling. فَأَخَرَ الصَّلَاةَ سَاهِيًا أَوْ نَاسِيًا. None of those things happened. He was just sitting down and was just oblivious and did not pray. فَقَدِمَ عَلَى أَهْلِهِ. And here you can correct me on the words. فَقَدِمَ عَلى أَهْلِهِ فَإِنْ كَانَ فِي الْوَقْتِ فَقَدِمَ عَلى أَهْلِهِ وَهُوَ فِي الْوَقْتِ صَلَّى صَلَاةَ الْمُقِيمِ. If he arrives at his family while he's still in the time of the salat that he delayed forgetfully or negligently, it's still time. فَلْيُصَلِّي صَلَّى صَلَاةَ الْمُقِيمِ. He prays the salat of one who is a resident. Because he has caught a what? A rak'ah while he is at home. Right? So even though he caught the time while he was traveling, by the time he got home, he was still in the time, at least by a rak'ah. Then he now prays the salat of a muqim because he was at home. وَأَدْرَكَ رَكْعَةً مِنَ الْعَصْرِ مَثَلًا قَبْلَ أَن تَغْرُبَ الشَّمْسِ فَقَدْ أَدْرَكَ الْعَصْرِ. وَإِنْ كَانَ قَدِمَ وإن كان أو فإذا وإن كان قدم فذهب الوقت فليصلي صلاة المسافر. But if he forgot and delayed, or he was preoccupied and didn't pray until he got home, وَإِنْ كَانَ قَدِمَ فَذَهَبَ الْوَقْتِ, and the time had left. How do we know the time is gone?
So you can't catch it up.
He can't complete a rak'ah. فَلْيُصَلِّي صَلَاةَ الْمُقِيمِ, al-musafir. طيب. He prays the salat of a musafir. Why, ya Imam Malik? Imam Malik has a qa'idah. Imam Malik has a qa'idah. And this is a benefit for us to realize that the ulama, when we talk about al-qawa'id, you know what a qa'idah is? You know what a qa'idah is, right? A qa'idah is those principles, in English they call them a maxim, where it's a couple of words that هو قضية كلية أو أغلبية. قضية كلية يعني its general statements are applicable to many more minor statements, right? الأمور بمقاصدها. Actions are based on their intention. That is a general, comprehensive, all-inclusive statement that you can apply to many more smaller individual points. Actions are based on intention. So, salat, actions are based on intention. Fasting, actions are based on intention. Business, actions are based on intention. Right? Qadiyatun kulliyah. I'm trying to remember the exact word. Yantabiqu. It's a word right there. Kulliyati ala على جزئيات كثيرة أو شيء هكذا قالوا. نسيت التعريف بالضبط. But it's a comprehensive idea or concept that its meaning is applicable to many more concepts and points. So Imam, and the issue of principles is that when did they start arising, right? Who were the first people to actually write in this field of qawaid al-fiqh, qawaid al-usul, right? You find that the first books written in this topic were about the 5th century, right? So that's a long time from the time of the Prophet ﷺ until principles are starting to get written down as principles. But that doesn't mean that the scholars didn't have qawaid before that, right? We see that Ibn Abbas used to mention things as a qaid. Instead, the Prophet ﷺ used to mention things as qawaid. A lot of his statements are just qaida. Al-kharaju bil-daman. The Prophet goes based on the person issuing the guarantee, right? Al-umur la darar wa la dirar. There's no harm or causing harm. These are qawaid. Likewise, Ibn Abbas had qawaid. And likewise, the ulama. Malik, he has a qaida that he uses as a foundation in this issue. What is his qaida? لِأَنَّهُ إِنَّمَا يَقْضِي مِثْلَ الَّذِي وَجَبَ عَلَيْهِ. The person needs to make up similar to what he originally had to do. When we talk about making up, what do you make up? Do you make up what you had to do, or do you make up something else? If it's makeup, you should be making up what you had to do. And so if you miss the salat while you were traveling, what kind of salat do you need to make up? The salat of a traveler. And if you miss the salat while you are a resident, what do you need to make up? The salat of a resident. And so Imam Malik, this qaida is his guiding factor in this issue. Because there's no evidence in this topic. This is one of those issues, like what we talked about. Why is Imam Malik telling us what he thinks in this issue? Because this is one of those topics where there's no proof. There's no direct text telling us what to do. Even if there's text that each side uses, there's nothing clear about it. In this, and this is a little bit outside of the purview of our conversation, but it's connected. In these topics that we're going to see here, there's a refutation against the madhab of the Zahiriyya. Because the Zahiriyya, they say what? There's no qiyas. There's no analogy. There's no comparison. But in certain issues in Islam, you have to compare. Because either you're going to do it because you compared it to this, or you're not going to do it because you compared it to that. But either way, there's a comparison. You see what I'm saying? And so when the Zahiriyya say, well, no, we don't establish any comparison, we say that's a falsehood. Even from you all, it's a falsehood. Because you're saying, well, we're not going to do it. Okay, why didn't you do it? Well, because compared to this, we don't have to do it because there's no proof. Okay, so you compared it to other things where there's no proof. You see what I'm saying? So these are one of those examples, and especially in an example like these, because it's not do, don't do. You see what I'm saying? Where you can say, well, I'm not going to do it, and the proof is there's no proof. You see what I'm saying? But here, the issue isn't do or not. The issue is what to do. I got to do something. You see what I'm saying? I arrived back home, and I didn't pray while I was traveling. And it is now Maghrib, and I didn't pray Asr. What do I do? I have to do something. If you tell me to pray 4 rak'at, where's your proof? If you tell me to pray 2 rak'at, where's your proof?
But everybody can use the proof that they take from the hadith.
We're not arguing what proof is right or wrong, but you have no proof. Because there is no statement from the Prophet ﷺ, do this or do that. So a person who says there's no analogy, but he says you have to pray 4 rak'at, how did you get I have to pray 4 rak'at? There's no effort, there's no point, there's no proof. So how did you get I have to pray 4 rak'at? You compared it to something. For the person who says that I have to pray 2 rak'at, how did you get I have to pray 2 rak'at? You compared it to something.
Are you talking about what to do if he's a musafir when he comes home as a resident and he caught 1 rak'ah?
No. He didn't catch 1 rak'ah.
Yeah.
It's Maghrib time. I didn't pray Asr.
Oh, proof for that.
Yeah, when I get home,
Gotcha.
I got to pray Asr.
Right.
Does anybody say I don't have to pray Asr?
No.
And that's an important proof. Because there's a proof in that issue that I still have to pray Asr. Because if it wasn't for the proof in that issue that I still have to pray Asr, I wouldn't pray Asr. But there's a proof I have to pray Asr. You understand? What's the proof I have to pray Asr? Man nama an salah أو نسيها فلا كفارة لها إلا فليصليها إذا ذكر لا كفارة لها سوى ذلك أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. Whoever sleeps on a salah or forgets it, then he has to pray it when he remembers, and there's no expiation of it other than that. So who does that include? The one who sleeps on a salat,
Right.
and the one who forgets it.
Right.
And that forgetting includes who? The one who was preoccupied. فَأَخَرَ الصَّلَاةَ سَاهِيًا أَوْ نَاسِيًا. Right? So we know I have to pray Asr when I get home, even though I missed the time. But do I pray 4 or do I pray 2?
Right.
And so, like I say, this is a refutation against people like the Zahiriyya who will say there's no qiyas, because in this situation you have to do qiyas. Play. Which one is the stronger view? What are the opinions? The first opinion is the opinion of Imam Malik, and the opinion of those who agree with him. For the names of those who agree with him, these are notes that I wrote down when after Imam Malik mentioned missing salat and not witnessing it or observing it and missing the time or the more preferable time, he mentioned issues that are connected to making up the salat. And these issues are from those topics where there's no proof regarding them. فَيُصَارُ إِلَى الْقِيَاسِ وَالْإِسْتِنْبَاطِ. So the only thing you can rely on in these issues is comparison and deriving information. So first of all, كَيْفَ يَقْضِي. How should an individual make up the salat? من تغير حاله والقاعدة. How should the one who missed the salat make it up if his circumstances changed? If you were traveling, but now you're home and you have to make up the salat, do you make it up as a traveler or do you make it up as a person who is home? The principle with Imam Malik is what we mentioned, that he makes up similar to what he missed. And this is the view of the people of Medina. Imam Malik, he says in the riwayah of Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi, وَهَكَذَا the gist of the wordage is وَهَكَذَا أَدْرَكْتُ النَّاسِ وَأَهْلُ الْعِلْمِ فِي بِلَادِنَا. And like this, I found the people doing, i.e. the people of Medina, and the people of knowledge in my city. This is the statement of Imam Malik in the riwayah of Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi. After he mentions this statement, he says, وَهَكَذَا أَدْرَكْتُ النَّاسِ وَأَهْلُ الْعِلْمِ فِي بِلَادِنَا. That they would all, if they got home after they traveled and the time had left, they would make up the prayer that they missed as travelers. So they would make it up as only 2 rak'ah. So this is the view of the people of Medina and its scholars, as is mentioned in the riwayah of Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi. وَهُوَ قَوْلُ أَبُو حَنِيفَةَ وَالثَّوْرِ. It's also the opinion of Abu Hanifa and al-Thawri, right? And the gist of their evidence is, what do they compare it to? Because the Prophet ﷺ, when he talks about making up, he talks about making up what you missed, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
And so the Prophet, when he talks about making up, he talks about making up what you missed. So when you missed this salat, did you miss 4 rak'at or 2?
2.
So make up what you missed, right? And so this is the generalness of the evidence that they use. That's why I mentioned, I say, وَدَلِيلُهُمْ مَا رَوَى الْبُخَارِ وَمُسْلِمْ. Their evidence that they base on is what was reported by al-Bukhari and Muslim, and the wordage is for Imam Muslim. He says, حدثنا حداب بن خالد قال حدثنا حمام قال حدثنا قتادة عن أنس بن مالك أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من نسي صلاة فليصليها إذا ذكرها لا كفارة لها إلا ذلك. So listen to these words. On Anas ibn Malik, that the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, من نسي صلاة, you forgot to pray, فليصليها, then let him pray it, hina dhakaraha, when he remembers it. What is the it?
Could be
It's the salat.
salah, no.
What kind of salat did he miss? What kind of salat did he forget? He forgot a salat musafir, rak'atayn. Then he needs to pray it. What is it? Salat al-musafir. فَلْيُصَلِّيهَا hina dhakaraha. لَا كَفَارَةً لَهَا إِلَّا ذَلِكَ. That's the only thing that he needs to do. And so they take the generalness of the it to say what you missed, make it up. And that's why they say if you were a traveler and you didn't pray while you were traveling and then you get home, if it's still time, you're what? No, it's still time.
You gotta make your muqim.
You're muqim. Yalla, pray for rak'ah. Alhamdulillah, no sin, you didn't miss anything, it's still time and to muqim. But if you get home, وَإِنْ كَانَ قَدِمَ وَقَدْ ذَهَبَ الْوَقْتِ, okay, now it's an issue. And you've missed the time, فَلْيُصَلِّي صَلَاةَ الْمُسَافِرِ. Then now he needs to pray Salat al-Musafir. What's your proof? مَنْ نَامَ مَنْ نَسِيَ الصَّلَاةِ فَلْيُصَلِّيهَا حِينَ ذَكَرَ أو حِينَ ذَكَرَهَا. The hadith of Muslim, whoever sleeps on it, whoever forgets a salat, فَلْيُصَلِّيهَا إِذَا ذَكَرَهَا. And there's no compensation for it other than that. Likewise, it's the hadith, he says, وحدثنا, this is the hadith of Muslim as well. He says, وحدثنا محمد بن المثنى قال حدثنا عبد الأعلى قال حدثنا سعيد بن عن قتادة عن أنس بن مالك قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من نسي صلاة أو نام عنها فكفارتها أن يصليها إذا ذكرها. And I mentioned this narration for a purpose that we're going to get to later. Whoever forgets a salat or sleeps on it, then let him pray it. And the generalness of that it applies to the salat that you slept on or forgot. So that's their proof. I say, وَقَالَ غَيْرُهُمْ وَمِنْهُمْ الْحَسَنِ بِالْعَكْسِ. Other than them, i.e. other than Malik and other than the Ahnaf, are those who say the opposite of this. They say that what's the opposite of this? You got to make 4, right? That you have to make 4. If you missed a, you got to be careful. The opposite is more than that.
4 and 4.
Is it 4 and 4?
So what if you miss Dhuhr and you came out at the Asr time?
That's different. Because you came home at Dhuhr, because you were traveling, so the 2 times become 1.
So you make 4-4 then?
4-4. Because adrak al-waqt. right? And remember we said waqt salat al-a'dhar, the salat of those who have excuses, ahlul dururat, right? You were traveling, you got home, the time for dhuhr goes all the way until maghrib. But the statement of Al-Hasan when he says al-aqs, what did Malik say you do? If you get home and it was time, you pray what? Muqim. And if there's no more time, you pray? Okay. Hasan says the opposite. Hasan, he says, وَذَلِكَ لِأَنَّهُ وَجَبَ عَلَيْهِ بِالذِّكْرِ. Right? Hasan says the opposite, that no, whenever you remember, you pray it that way. So if you got home and you forgot to pray 2 raka'at when you were traveling, you are now what? No. You are now what? You're home.
You're home, yeah.
When did you remember?
When you got home.
Pray 4 raka'at. What if you're traveling when you remember?
And you make it home.
No. You didn't pray at home and you don't remember until you started traveling.
You don't remember.
You were at home, you didn't pray. This goes into the next statement of Imam Malik. Let's read the next statement of Imam Malik. That's why Imam Malik is mentioning both of these opinions. He says, وَمَنْ أَرَادَ السَّفَرِ. Whoever wants to travel, فَأَدْرَكَهُ الْوَقْتِ. While it's still time, right? It's still Asr time, for example, and he hasn't traveled yet. وَهُوَ فِي أَهْلِهِ فَإِنَّهُ يُصَلِّي صَلَاةَ الْحَاضِرِ فَإِنَّهُ إِنْ خَرَجَ فإنه إذا خرج وهو في الوقت فليصلي صلاة الحاضر
صلاة المسافر.
أو لا وإن خرج فليصلي صلاة المسافر. Right? من أراد السفر فأدركه الوقت وهو في أهله فإنه إذا خرج وهو في الوقت فليصلي صلاة المسافر. صلى صلاة المسافر. Right? An individual أراد السفر. He hasn't traveled yet, he's still at home. فأدركه الوقت. It's Asr time, he's still at home. Right? وهو في أهله. He's still at home. That's 3. This word right here, فإنه إذا خرج. فإنه إذا خرج ولم يصلي وهو في فإنه إذا خرج وهو في الوقت صلى صلاة المسافر. If he leaves out and it's still time, obviously it's still time, he can pray Salat al-Musafir. وإن خرج فإن خرج فإذا خرج وخرج الوقت فإذا خرج وقد خرج الوقت. Huh? It's okay. That's why I said now is the time to correct me, because I remember it 6354. Huh? I got it 6354. The conditions that Imam Malik makes, right? Every time he says wafa, that's a qaid. So the first one is 6, the second one is 3, the third one is 5. This one we're on right now, the fourth one is 4. So it was فإذا خرج وقد خرج الوقت ولم يصلي ولم يكن صلى صلاة فليصلي صلاة الحاضر. Go ahead. ولم يكن صلى في أهله. That's 3. فليصلي حاضر. فليصلي صلاة الحاضر. That's 4. So, what's that saying? If he وإذا خرج فإذا خرج فإذا خرج فإذا خرج, okay, he left home. وخرج الوقت وقد خرج الوقت, and the time left. He stayed at home, Asr time, I'm traveling today. I'm going to pray when I hit the road. He's busy, he prepared his bags, he got his car loaded, he's ready to head out. Allah, وقد خرج الوقت. فلم يكن ولم يكن قد صلى في أهله, and he didn't pray yet while he was still at home. But now he's done what? Now he's left. I'm sorry, but he's still at home. I'm sorry, now he's left. He's left home, but he didn't pray at home before he left. What does he have to do? فَلْيُصَلِّ صَلَاةَ الْحَاضِرِ لِأَنَّهُ إِنَّمَا يَقْضِي مِثْلَ الَّذِي قَدْ وَجَبَ عَلَيْهِ. Because he has to make up the thing that was originally obligatory on him.
What's the qad in this one?
Qad is just emphasizing it, right? And like we say, did Imam Malik say qad? Maybe, right? Or did the student write qad? Maybe it was more important. That's why the verbatim of Imam Malik is not necessary. Knowing what Imam Malik is saying and why is necessary. And then getting the verbatim becomes easier because I know what's going on. So we have two scenarios, but it's really just one scenario. That's why when we talk about it in the explanation, we just mention it as one scenario. You have three positions that we're going to mention. The first position, the position of Malik and Abu Hanifa and Thawri and those who agree with them. You make up what you missed. Whenever you make it up, whatever it was when you missed it, you make it up. So if you missed it while you were a resident, when you make it up, wherever you are, you make it up as what?
Make it whatever you missed.
As a resident. And if you missed it while you were traveling, and you go to make it up, whenever you are, you make it up as a traveler. Right? لأنه إنما يقضي مثل الذي وجب عليه. Because you have to make up the same thing that was originally obligatory upon you. So for them, the making up is based on the original obligation. And your original obligation, if it was 4, when you make it up, it's 4. And your original obligation, when you had it, was 2. When you make it up, it's 2. إنما يقضي مثل الذي وجب عليه. Right? So all of Imam Malik's statement is just to simplify that point. As far as the other point, if it's still time, then that's obvious. If it's still time, then pray because you're home now. If it's still time when you travel, pray because you're a traveler now. But if you missed it, إنما يقضي مثل الذي وجب عليه. Then there's a second opinion, the opposite. The first opinion is make up what was obligatory on you. The second opinion, in a nutshell, is make it up how it's obligatory on you now. How it would be if you were just doing it now. So what does that mean? You were at home, you didn't pray. When you were at home, what would you have to pray? You would have to pray 4. You start traveling, you remember you didn't pray. What do? You have to make it up. Pray 2. Why pray 2? Because I have to make it up in my current circumstance. What is wajib on me now if I pray dhuhr? 2. If I'm traveling, what's wajib on me now? 2. So if I'm making up dhuhr, what's wajib on me? Because I pray dhuhr according to how it would be wajib right now. That is when we say the opposite. That's the opinion of Hasan al-Basri. Malik's position is whatever it was wajib, you pray. Hasan al-Basri's position is whatever is wajib is how you pray. That's the opposite. You see what I'm saying? So we said that وَقَالَ غَيْرُهُمْ وَمِنْهُمْ الْحَسَنَ الْبَصْرِ. Right? Other besides them, and this is not just Hasan al-Basri, but he's the most prominent one who had this view, the opposite of the opinion of Malik. And that is because what is their proof? لأنه وجب عليه بالذكر. When did the make-up salat become wajib on you? When did it become wajib? You forgot to pray. Is praying wajib?
Yeah. Forgot to pray.
Well, we're going to talk about this. There's different types of obligation, and that's an important distinction. There's no harm in mentioning it right now a little bit so it'll be clear later on when we get to it. There's the obligation of, how can I word this? A taklif, like who has been given the responsibility. And then there's taklif or ahliya of who has to do the responsibility. And those are two different things. who has been given responsibility and who has to do the responsibility. Sometimes a person can do the responsibility we mean worship, the obligations that Allah gives us. Sometimes a person can do the responsibility, but they haven't been entrusted with it. They haven't been told to do it, but they can. Sometimes a person can have been told to do it, but don't have to. And sometimes a person can be told to do it and have to do it. You understand the difference? Sometimes a person can do it without being told, and when they do it, it's okay. And sometimes a person can be told to do it, but don't do it, and it's okay. And sometimes a person can be told to do it and have to do it. So if they do it, it's okay, and if they don't, it's not okay. So here, if you forget, which group are you in? The obligation is obligatory, but is it obligatory on you to do and you don't know you need to do it?
You do know them.
No, you don't, you
You forgot.
So
But
you don't know.
The other hadith, though.
When you
Remember.
remember.
Okay.
When is making up the salat wajib? When you remember. So the salat upon you in this situation isn't wajib until when?
When you remember.
When you remember. And so now that you've remembered and you're traveling, even though you forgot to pray it at home, it became wajib when you remembered. And now that you remembered you're a traveler, what's wajib on a traveler to pray? 2 rak'ah. And so, pray 2 rak'ah. Even though you forgot it at home, and it would have been 4 rak'ah, when you remembered you were traveling, and now it's wajib. You got to do it now. فَلْيُصَلِّيهَا حِينَ ذَكَرَهَا. That's a command. You got to pray it now that you remember. But now that you remembered you're traveling, and the obligation on you since you're traveling is what? 2 rak'ah.
That makes more sense.
If you think. If you think.
You don't know.
Okay. Hassan al-Basri, I ain't gonna argue with you. If you like that opinion, I love that opinion. Right? Same thing, vice versa. If you were traveling and you delayed the salat, sahiyan o nasiya, and then you got home and then you remembered, what do?
Yeah,
You gotta pray. But what do you pray? Do you pray what you would have prayed when you were traveling? You pray Salat al-Muqim. Why do you pray Salat al-Muqim here if you forgot a traveling Salat? Because I remembered it when I'm at home. So it's as if the principle for them is whatever is wajib, however it would be wajib on you when you remember is how you have to pray it. Malik's position is however it was wajib when you forgot is how you have to pray it. Hassan al-Basri's view is however it would be wajib when you remember is how you have to pray it. Clear? Like, what's their proof? We already mentioned the hadith. فَلْيُصَلِّهَا حِينَ ذَكَرَهَا. He needs to pray it when he remembers
That's
it.
the same hadith.
Same hadith. It's just we take it a different way. You got to pray it. Pray what? What is it? Salat al-Asr. You got to pray it when you remember it. When you remember it tells us how you should pray it. Pray it how you would pray it when you remember it. You see what I'm saying? While Imam Malik, he says, no, you got to pray it. The focus is more on the salat. How you would have prayed it when you remember it. While Hassan al-Basri say, no, you got to pray it how you would pray it when you remember it. Like, he says, وَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ الصَّلَاةُ تُصَلَّى عَلَى صِفَتِهَا فِي حَالِ الَّذِي هُوَ فِيهِ. So that salat should be prayed in the condition that he would pray it when he remembers it. So if he forgets a resident salat until he travels, then he has to make it up as a traveling salat, and vice versa. طيب. What's another proof of theirs? Right? I'm just going to like this one because he said that opinion was nice, right? You were injured. You could not stand up. You with me? You were injured. You could not stand up. If you would have prayed when you could not stand up, how would you have prayed? Sitting down. but you forgot to pray. And then you woke up the next morning, or you overslept, right? You were injured, you were really hurting bad, you went to sleep, you would have had to sit down to pray.
Right.
But your pain overtook you, sleep overtook you, you fell asleep. You woke up the next day, oh crap, I didn't pray Dhuhr or Asr. But now you feel okay. How would you pray? How would you make those salats up? You would have to make them upstanding. Why would you make them upstanding? When you missed them, you would have prayed them what? But now you're not sick anymore, so you would make them up what? Because the way you remembered them is the way you make them up. Not how they were, but how they are. Vice versa. Let's say you didn't pray Dhuhr. You were busy with battle. Right? You got injured on the battlefield. Now you can't stand. But you got to make up Dhuhr. When you would have prayed Dhuhr, how would you have prayed Dhuhr? Standing up. Like, you can't stand up now. What do you do? How do you make up Dhuhr? Because the way you make it up is the way that it would be obligatory on you now. And that's the position of Hassan al-Basri.
Is this the same position of Shafi?
La. Shafi, Ahmed have a different position. That's why we ain't mentioned them yet. Right? We said there's three major positions. There's other ones, but there's three major positions. Huh?
This was confusing here, Halatain, but...
Yeah. There's three major positions. Most of the people don't mention this one. Right? When you're in regular class and things like that, they won't mention this position of Hassan al-Basri. Right? They'll mention the opinion of Malik and Abu Hanifa, and they'll mention the opinion of Shafi and Ahmed, because those are the common ones. But this is the third one it's clever. But we got one problem. If the religion was based on cleverness, we wipe over the bottom of our socks. Right? Now you can say, well, all of it is comparison. That's a good point. Right? But this is where you start looking at the action of the Salaf. Right? Let me see what Abu Bakr did. What did Umar do? What did Uthman do? What did Ali do? Right? What Sahaba did what? Because in this issue, I don't have any clear-cut proof, and everybody makes sense. You mean to tell me Imam Malik's position didn't make sense? Made sense. And he had a nice little clever, catchphrase with it. Indama yusall alladhi wajaba alayh, mithla alladhi wajaba alayh. He got a nice little catchphrase with it too. So that's the second opinion. The third opinion is he says, وَقَالَ Ahmed wa Shafi'i wal Awza'i. Right? Ahmed, Shafi, and al-Awza'i. These are three other madhabs. Right? Sufyan, Abu Hanifa, and Malik, they're all madhabs. He says, وَقَالَ Ahmed wa Shafi'i wal Awza'i. This is another benefit. And we've been on this kick recently. It shows us that the haqq isn't restricted to the four madhahib. Right? Because the opinion of Hassan al-Basri, it's not the opinion of any one of the four madhahib. Even though Amr, that's the one that makes the most sense to me. Amr, when he goes home tomorrow, he's probably going to worship Allah according to that. You see what I'm saying? Because that's what makes the most sense to him right now. And there's no clear-cut proof. Can somebody then come and say, no, you got to follow one of the other two opinions, because that's the four madhabs? No. The truth is not restricted in the four madhabs. He says, وَقَالَ أَحْمَدْ وَالشَّافِعِي وَالْأَوْزَاعِي, that you have to complete all of them as 4 rak'ah. Every situation when you're making up, you have to make it up as 4 rak'ah. So if you were traveling and then you get home and you forgot to pray while you were traveling, how do you have to make it up? You have to make it up as a resident. Why? Because when you were traveling, you had an excuse. But you are no longer traveling. And so, since you're no longer traveling, you no longer have that excuse. And if you want to talk about the foundation of the obligation, the foundation of dhuhr is what? 4 rak'ah. You only had an excuse because you were traveling and you were busy, and okay, let's make it easy on you to just pray 2 rak'ah so you can get back to being busy and doing everything else. But you still forgot. And now you're back home. We don't need to make it easy on you no more. Pray 4 rak'ah.
That's the same with Hassan al-Basri, right?
No, Hassan al-Basri was completely different. Hassan al-Basri was, if you were traveling and you remember at home, when is it wajib on you?
When you remember.
When you remember. So now pray 4. but for different reasons. But what if I remember while I'm traveling?
You're traveling, time is gone, and then you remember you're not home yet.
Right. Or I didn't pray at home. I was at home with my family. I'm getting ready to travel. Right? I'm preparing everything. This is Hassan al-Basri. I'm preparing everything. I'm getting ready to go. Hey, load the car, close the doors. You got gas? Everybody got their stuff? Okay, let's go. You know what? We're going to stop at that first rest stop outside of the city. Inshallah, we'll make it there before Maghrib. Get on the highway, traffic jam. Right? We're not going to make it. We pull up to the parking lot. Okay, everybody, come on. We got to pray. Allah. We didn't make it. When do I have to pray Asr? When do I have to pray Asr? Now. But what time is it now? So did I pray Asr at home on time? No. So now I have to make it up. How do I make it up? And that first rest stop outside of the city is the first rest stop outside of the city. You see what I'm saying? That means I was at home in Asr time. I didn't catch a rak'at outside of the city. So now, according to Hassan al-Basri, because I didn't remember it until I'm traveling, I only have to pray 2 rak'at. Imam Malik would say, no, you missed the salat at home. You have to pray 4 rak'at. Shafi'i and Ahmed and al-Awza'i, they say, no, it does not matter the circumstance. You always pray 4 rak'at. So while Malik says sometimes 4, sometimes 2, and Hassan al-Basri says the opposite, sometimes 2, sometimes 4, Malik, Shafi'i, and al-Awza'i, they say what? Always 4. Always 4.
Even if you're traveling?
Even if you're traveling. So let's go back now. If I was traveling and I didn't pray, I forgot to pray, I get home, am I traveling anymore? No. If this was Malik, what would I do?
Time is out.
Time is out. 2. If it was Hassan al-Basri, what would I do?
Whatever you remember.
I'm at home now, I remember.
It's 4.
4. Why? Because the obligation is when I remember. That's Hassan al-Basri's reasoning.
So if you're traveling back home, you remembered while you were traveling back home, and then you made it home, you would do 2 while you're at home.
If you remembered, yeah, that would be logical.
Yeah.
Because you remembered, but why did you delay?
It was very hard to stop.
Okay. That's a different, that makes logical reasoning according to Hassan al-Basri's answer. You remembered while you were traveling back home. Did you make it home in time?
No.
So you remembered, you forgot to pray Dhuhr.
You were like 5 minutes away from home.
Right? You forgot to pray Dhuhr earlier in the day.
And you're like, oh, damn.
And then when you got to the rest stop that's right outside the city, you said, oh, snap, I did not pray Dhuhr. The good thing to do would have been what? Pull over, stop, pray Dhuhr. That's the obligation in the hadith. But you didn't do it. You told yourself, man, I got to get home. I don't want to get stuck in this rush hour traffic. Stuff will come on, let me shoot and try to get home. By the time I get into the city, Maghrib has come in.
Because you're traveling the whole time until you get inside your home.
Until you get in, no, not into your home, into the city.
In the city?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that's why I say outside the city, inside the city. So now you get into the city, but the time has left before you get into the city. Or once you get into the city, you was like, okay, I made it. I'm going to go pull over at this gas station and pray. Allahu Akbar.
Right.
I didn't catch a rak'ah. According to Hassan al-Basri's position, yeah, you would still make up 2. Because the obligation is due when? When you remember. But Imam Ahmed and Imam Shafi'i and al-Awza'i, what is their position? No. You pray 4 all the time. When you're making up, you have to complete it. Why? When you were traveling, why could you pray 2? Rukhsa. It was an allowance. Are you traveling now?
When you came home?
When you made it home. You made it to that gas station inside the city. Are you home?
You're home.
Yes. Are you traveling? The permission that you had to shorten ended when you stopped what? When you stopped traveling. You're no longer traveling. We gave you the permission because you were traveling, right? Allah gave us the permission because we were traveling. to make things easy when we're traveling. You are no longer traveling. You don't need things to be easy. You can pray 4. Everybody understand that side, right? Tell you, what about the opposite? If I was at home and I didn't pray, what should I have prayed? 4. And then I travel and then I remember, oh, I didn't pray before I left. What does Imam Ahmed and the Shafi'i say?
4.
Pray 4. Why?
You're traveling.
I'm traveling now, but they say I got to pray 4.
I got an excuse.
You got an excuse now. You're traveling.
Right.
Did you have an excuse when you missed it?
No, but I do not.
And when you travel, the excuse is only for acts of obedience. So when you travel, say for instance, I'm traveling to go rob a bank. Can I shorten my salah? They say no, because the permission is only given for an act of obedience. If you're traveling to go visit a mother, to go make Hajj or Umrah, these are acts of obedience. If I'm traveling to go commit a sin, I don't get the permission. And so when I was at home, what should I have done? I should have prayed. But now that I've left home, I can't take advantage of the permission of something that I should have did when I was at home.
What's the evidence for that?
Huh? The evidence for what?
The obedience, that if it has to be accordance to.
They say that it's logic.
Okay.
Why did Allah give you the allowance to travel? To make things easy on you.
Right, easier.
Does it make sense to make things easy on the person who's being disobedient?
I mean, we all disobedient.
But you're disobedient for, meaning not you did a sin on the trip. Not you did a sin on the trip. Your whole trip is to go disobey Allah. The reason you left your house was to go disobey Allah.
Right.
Are we going to give you the permission to make it easy on you? No, we want to make it hard on you. We want to make your life difficult because you're going out to disobey Allah. Why would we give you a permission to make it easier on you? That's the opinion of the majority. Now, other scholars say no. If you're traveling, it don't matter. But they say, that's the logic. They say your trip was for the sake of sinning. So why would we give you an allowance from Allah? No, you don't get that.
The reason for the sinning is because he didn't pray it.
It's not that he's sinning. It's not that he's sinning. They're comparing it to the one who traveled for a sin. The one who travels for a sin, can he shorten? They say no. And so they say, look at that. The one who travels for a sin can't shorten. This person, what should he have done? He's just like a person traveling for a sin. Now, you're not sinning because you forgot. No problem. Alhamdulillah. But how can you take advantage of this allowance? You should have did it back there.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You should have prayed already.
But if he's got a legit excuse, he literally forgot.
You literally forgot. No problem. No sin. But you can't take advantage of the allowance because the allowance is for the traveler who comes across salat while they're traveling. You didn't come across salat while you were traveling. You should have prayed already. So how are we going to say now? Otherwise, people would do what?
Forget on purpose?
Act like they forgot and go travel and pray 2 rak'ah to get away with it.
That's their problem.
You see what I'm saying? But this is how ulama think. We can't open the doorway for somebody to play that game with their religion. You see what I'm saying? And so the obligation of dhuhr is what? 4 rak'ah. You should have prayed it at home. I'm not going to give you an allowance to pray at 2 rak'ah because you didn't pray it early. That would be rewarding somebody who was negligent. Why would I reward somebody who was I reward the person who wasn't negligent. You wanted to go visit your mother. MashaAllah. Good son. While you're traveling, pray 2 rak'ah. Make it easy. And not just that, you can combine. Go ahead. Make it easy. Because I want you to go do that act of worship. As far as the guy who was trying to get to his girlfriend's house, I don't care about making it easy on you so you can go visit her in Houston. No. I'm not going to give you the allowance to shorten your salat and combine. You're disobeying Allah. And as far as you who left home and didn't pray, Akhi, what was you doing? right? Pray, make it up 4, because that's what you should have did. You see what I'm saying? That's their view. Is it right or wrong? That's not our conversation. Our conversation is to remember what Malik said, to understand what Malik said, and to be able to recall other people's views based off of what Malik said. Our job isn't to try to argue who's right, who's wrong. It's to understand what Malik said. Do we know what Malik said? Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. To understand it. I understand Malik's position now. You make it up based on the way that it was obligatory on you. And understanding Malik's position should trigger in my mind other people's positions. Oh, well, that's what Malik said, but Hassan al-Basri said the opposite. You make it up the way that it's obligatory on you now, not the way that it was.
Or how you remember it.
Now. That's when you remember it. Right? And Abu Ahmed and Shafi and al-Awza'i, they say, no, you make it up 4 all the time. You make it up 4 all the time. They have some other proof that they base it on. He says, the him being me, he says, وَقَالَ أَحْمَدُ وَالشَّافِعِي وَالْأَوْزَاعِي, that you need to complete it up as 4 raka'at in every circumstance. Because the allowance originally has left when your traveling has ended. Or it was never there to begin with. You never had the permission to pray 4 raka'at when you were at home. Did you have the permission to pray 2 raka'at? So now that you start traveling, why you got the permission? When you were traveling, did you have the permission to pray 4 raka'at? When you got home, that permission what? Ended. When you missed your salat at home and didn't pray 4 raka'at, did you have permission to pray 2 raka'at? So you never had it. So either in any situation, if you were traveling and you forgot, when you get home, you no longer have the permission. When you were at home and you forgot, you never had the permission to begin with. That's what they base it on. That's their reasoning. And they also say that is safer to make sure you've done what you have to do. Because in these circumstances, you're either going to pray completely or pray 2 rak'ah. Which one is safer? And like we say all the time when you talk about especially Imam Ahmed, these are things that they look at all the time. Said the Dariya, right? This is safer. This is cutting off any confusion, any waswasa. If you were traveling, could you pray 4 rak'ah? Okay, so then pray 4 rak'ah. Just pray 4. Make it easier on yourself. Why put yourself in all this confusion? Did I really pray enough? Should I? The scholars disagree. Just pray 4. And now you don't have to ask yourself these questions. It's abra'a li dhamma. Who are you praying for? You're praying for Allah. Do you want to take the risk of meeting Allah missing 2 rak'ah? Then pray 4. Right? What you going to do, Amr? You want to meet Allah with the risk of missing 2 rak'ah? Because Hassan al-Basri's opinion was clever? You just pray 4. Right? But look, I have no doubt. That's why it's about what? You hear me say this statement all the time. This is how I worship Allah. Sufyan al-Thawri had a statement when one of them came to them and asked him about, I want to ask you some things that on the day of judgment, when Allah asks me about them, I can say Sufyan al-Thawri told me and get out the way. And so Sufyan al-Thawri told him some things. He said, when Allah asks you about them things, tell him, Sufyan al-Thawri told me this, and then leave me to my Lord. I'm cool. When Allah asks me about it, I'm cool. Because I have certainty, or I'm confident about how I worship Allah. So I'm worshiping Allah this way. Why are you worshiping Allah that way? Because that's what's clear to me from the evidence. I'm not following my desires. I'm not trying to get out of 2 rak'at. I'm not trying to circumvent the issue. This makes sense to me. Right? I had the permission, whatever position you take, you see what I'm saying? But Imam Ahmed, that's the difference between us and Imam Ahmed. Imam Ahmed was constant, look, I'm not taking no risk with Allah. I'm going to pray 4 rak'ah. You play them, I'm confident. Look, are you sure? Bayn al-raja wal khawf. Between fear and between hope. You know what? I'm worried my salat's not going to be accepted. I'm going to pray 4. And I hope that's good enough. And that's something that's common with Imam Ahmed. So they say it's more purifying to one's honor that they pray 4 rak'ah. I said after the Amma idrak faqad taqaddama. All right, we already know what it means to catch the time. So that's as it relates to those 2 statements of Imam Malik. Right? Those 2 statements of Imam Malik, these are the positions regarding it. the next statement of Imam Malik. What is it?
Next statement.
The next statement of Imam Malik.
Oh, the
What is it?
الشفق الحمرة التي
قال مالك الشفقة
الحمرة التي في المغرب
الحمرة التي في المغرب. Right. فإذا ذهب الحمرة فقد وجبت صلاة العشاء وخرج وقت المغرب وخرج من وقت المغرب. طيب. Now, so remember, this whole chapter is about what is the time, when is the time, what to do if you miss the time. All of this is this chapter. So now we need to know about another time that ends things, and that is a shafaq. We heard in the hadith of Umar earlier, وَالْعِشَاء إِذَا غَابَ الشَّفَقِ. We heard that in the hadith of Umar earlier. Whose hadith? Asnid. وَالْعِشَاء إِذَا غَابَ الشَّفَقِ. I'm asking you. I know which one it is. وَالْعِشَاء إِذَا غَابَ الشَّفَقِ. I just told you it's Umar. I want the isnad. وَالْعِشَاء إِذَا غَابَ الشَّفَقِ إلى ثلث الليل فإن نام فلا نامت عينه فإن نام فلا نامت عينه فإن نام فلا نامت عينه والصبح والنجوم بادية مشتبقة. أسند.
قال أبو مسعد حدثنا مالك النافع.
لا.
Yes. What you mean? You said.
I know what I said, and I said لا.
You said فلا نامت
فمن نام لا.
That's the.
Is it عمه أبو حسين?
نعم. Not أبو حسين. أبو صالح. فلا نامت عينه.
That's
نافع or Abu Salih? Which one is first?
That's the first one.
Oh, Nafi is the first one?
Yeah.
أخطأت. Here we
Come
go.
on
I
now.
made a mistake. You were right. I thought Abu Salih was. You're right. Abu Salih is the second one. Abu Salih is the second one. You're
As soon
right.
as you said فلا نامت عينه,
Hey,
like,
no,
all right,
no,
that's
أخطأت أنا بشر. Now, so it's Nafi' مولى عبد الله بن عمر أن عمر بن الخطاب كتب إلى عماله أن أهم أمركم عندي الصلاة فمن. I knew it was that hadith. I thought that was Abu Salih. But you're right. Abu Salih is the next one. كتب إلى أبي موسى الأشعري. جزاكم الله خير. طيب. So we know that based on this athar of Umar that والعشاء إذا غاب الشفق. طيب. Umar, you didn't help me out. I'm an American. I'm Bosnian. I don't speak Arabic. What is a shafaq? Malik, rahimahullah, jazahullahu khairah, he says, الشفق الحمرة في المغرب. It's the redness in the horizon. The sun has set. There's no more sun. والشفق هي الحمرة في المغرب. It's the redness that's still in the sky. فإذا ذهب الشفق فإذا ذهب الحمرة فقد وجبت صلاة العشاء. When the redness leaves the sky, صلاة العشاء is now wajib. وخرج من وقت صلاة المغرب. وخرج من وقت المغرب. And the time of Maghrib is over. So now you have no confusion about when Maghrib ends. We knew when Asr ended. We knew when Dhuhr ended. We knew when Fajr ended. Right? We know when Isha ends. But when it came to, what's up?
So it's the والعشاء إذا غاب الشفق إلى ثلث الليل.
إلى ثلث الليل. That's when Isha ends. وإن أخرت فإلى نصف الليل ولا تكن من الغافلين. You see what I'm saying? We know when Isha ends. But we didn't know when Maghrib ends. Because it says, وَالْمَغْرِبْ إِذَا غَرَبَتِ الشَّمْسِ وَالْعِشَاء إِذَا غَابَ الشَّفَقِ. طيب, I don't know what the shafaq is. You know what the shafaq is? You sure? You positive?
That's what Malik said.
Malik helped us out by telling us that. His opinion is that الشفق الحمرة في المغرب. فإذا ذهبت الحمرة فقد وجبت صلاة العشاء وخرج من وقت المغرب. That is the opinion of the Jamhur. The majority of the scholars hold the view that the shafaq is the redness in the sky. The Ahnaf, they say no, not just the Ahnaf. I shouldn't even say the Ahnaf. I'm trying to remember without looking at my notes. I know it's an opinion. I'm trying to remember. Look at this. I said, ثُمَّ ذَكَرَ مَسْأَلَةُ الشَّفَقِ, and then he mentioned the issue of the hue in the sky. What is the shafaq? Is it the red or is it the white? Because if you look at nighttime, you'll see that the sun is gone and there's a red, pink, orangish, purplish hue in the sky that constantly recedes. It's so bright that you might not even see stars yet. And then as it's going away, the stars start to come out and the sky is now black, but there's still that band of white at the bottom of the horizon. So you have the red or the white. Which one is the shafaq that has to leave before Isha is wajib? The first opinion is the opinion of the Jamhur, that the red is the shafaq. When all of those pretty colors leave the sky, it's Maghrib time. When the only thing that's left is black or white, it's Maghrib time. I'm sorry, Isha time. When the stars come out, it's Isha time. That is the opinion of the Jamhur, and it is based on the statement of Ibn Umar. Right, what's the statement of Ibn Umar? I'm trying to think, did Malik mention it? No, Malik mentions the statement of Umar. No, Malik doesn't mention it on Ibn Umar. There's a statement of Ibn Umar that says it directly in the Musannafat. I was trying to think, did Malik mention it? But he doesn't. It's not from Malik, it's from Umar. Right? Either Ghab al-Shafaq. But Ibn Umar specifically says that the shafaq is the red. He says, وَبِالثَّانِي قَالَ Abu Hanifa. Abu Hanifa holds the second view, that the shafaq is the white. وَيُنْسَبُ ذَلِكَ لِأَنَسْ وَأَبِي هُرَيْرَةَ وَعُمَرْ ibn Abdul Aziz. Right? Abu Hanifa, he says, no, the shafaq is the white. And that is the view of Anas, that the shafaq is the white, as well as Abu Hurairah, that the shafaq is the white, as well as Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Why is it significant to mention Umar ibn Abdul Aziz?
Because he was on his time.
He was on his time. So like when it comes to mentioning a position about time, and I throw Umar ibn Abdul Aziz in it, you know that he was paying attention, right? So that's why they mention him.
That's a strong evidence.
It's not a strong evidence, it's a strong...
Abu Hurairah and Anas.
Those are just statements of, okay, well, I said Ibn Umar.
I think there's
Oh, I think that was right.
Ibn Umar.
You got it? What is it?
It says here,
I got it here, but go ahead.
وبذا فسره ابن عمر رضي الله عنه قال لخليل ابن أحمد
Huh? قال Khalil ibn Ahmed.
قال الخليل ابن أحمد
Uh-huh.
رقبت البياض
ركبت.
رقبت البياض الذي يلي هذه الحمر
Uh-huh.
فوجدته
فوجدته.
يبقي إلى ثلث
No, that's another statement. We're going to mention that. That's a position that supports the position of Ibn Umar. It supports Ibn Umar's position. Ibn Umar's position, you can find it in the Musannafat. I'm not sure if I wrote it down or not, but it's just Ibn Umar saying that a shafaq is the umrah. You know what I mean? That's,
Yeah, he said.
so, those are the first two opinions. The first opinion is the Jamhur, the majority of the scholars, that it's the red. And who has that opinion from the Sahaba, from the Salaf? Ibn Umar. طيب, the second opinion is that it's the white. Who has that opinion? The Ahnaf. And who has an opinion from the Salaf? Abu Hurairah, Anas. And we can throw in Umar ibn Abdul Aziz while we throw him in. He ain't Abu Hurairah or Anas. He don't beat Ibn Umar. So why we throw him in there? Because he was about his time. So that's like, see, even Umar ibn Abdullah, you know who he was. Even Malik knows who he was. You see what I'm saying? Malik started off his book with him. You see what I'm saying? So that's the way they make their arguments. But there's a third opinion as well. He says, وَأَنْ أَحْمَدْ رِوَايَةً فِي الْحَضْرِ الْبَيَاضِ. Imam Ahmed has another opinion where he has details. If you are not traveling, then you use the white. If you're at home, then Isha comes in when the white goes away. Right? Why?
He wants it to delay because it's better to delay Isha.
Right? Better to delay Isha. And at home, it's easier. You won't get preoccupied. It's less likely that you'll miss Maghrib. You're probably praying Maghrib earlier anyway. And so Isha doesn't come in until the white goes. طيب. While when you're traveling, Isha comes in when? When the red goes.
I mean, you combine it anyway. How much?
Well, are you combining? Just because you can combine, does that mean you should combine? And if you're in a place where there's a masjid, should you be combining in the first place? You go to Mecca, you're making Umrah. Are you going to combine Maghrib? You're going to pray Maghrib with the people, right? And since you're traveling, you might get busy, you might get delayed, something might distract you. So make sure you pray it before the red goes. You see what I'm saying? That's an answer, but it's not. It's too loose. I mean, why? What's this? It's too arbitrary, right? Why did you choose this one here and that one there with no evidence? What gives you the right to say this one and this one? Like, pick one. You know what I mean? Like, you see what I'm saying? What's the word? I think arbitrary is the word. It's not based on anything. And when you're traveling, it's this one. When you're resident, it's that one. Why is it a difference? If it's Maghrib, it's Maghrib.
Right.
Unless you're telling me Allah made a difference, then I'll accept it. But just because you say this and that, even, love you, Imam Ahmed. But why are you choosing it? The other people's arguments make more sense. Either say it's the red or say it's the white. But don't tell me white when you're traveling. I mean, red when you're traveling, white when you're at home. Give me some evidence for that differentiation. And a principle that I live by, whenever a scholar, because I say scholars out of respect for them, because everybody else doesn't matter. Whenever a scholar gives you details, they start getting really precise in their details, and there's no proof, that shows the weakness of that position. When a scholar tells you if your hole on your khuf is bigger than 2 fingers, then you can't wipe on it. Where you get 2 fingers from? Why not 1.5 finger? What about, 3 fingers if I got really small fingers? Once you start giving me these precise details, I know your opinion is not proof in this situation. Right. Because you're giving me too much detail that the religion would have required that detail if it was the case. And so when Imam Ahmed is saying, well, at home, the white, and at traveling, the red, I'm like, Imam Ahmed, what is the reason for this? Is there a proof? I'll accept it. But if not, this is too much detail that the religion would have had to give me that detail. So that's the view of Imam Ahmed. He has a position where he says that while you're at home, then it's the white, and while you're traveling, it's the red. I say, وَرُوِيَ عَنْ Ibn Abbas قَوْلًا كَقَوْلَيْنِ فِي اللُّغَةِ. Ibn Abbas has both opinions.
Maybe that's where he got it from.
Maybe. Like he's saying, I'm going to combine everybody's opinion. Okay, but still I need details, right? But that's sensible because Imam Ahmed was an individual who didn't want to leave any narration. He wanted to use them all, right? And so maybe his attempt to combine them was to say, okay, at home like this and when traveling like that. Ibn Abbas had both opinions. Once he said it's the red, once he said it's the white. Why? Because both views are valid in the language. When you say the shafa in the language, it could be either one of them. And so, but when you say Ibn Abbas had both opinions, are we saying that he died with both opinions? Or are we saying that maybe he said this one and then later changed his mind? And if that's the case, which one did he say first? Which one did he say last? And so Ibn Abbas doesn't really help us out right here. Imam Ahmed doesn't really help us out right here. It's nice if you want to take that opinion of Imam Ahmed and try to combine them both. But if we're talking about that there is a time the salat ends, then it's going to be one or the other. It can't end. It could. Like they talk about Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr could be a different night every year. That's possible. But is Maghrib for me and Maghrib for you 2 different times? Is Isha for me and Isha for you? We're standing right next to each other. You're traveling, I'm a resident. You understand what I'm saying? Is your Maghrib time, is your Isha time different than my Isha time? We're standing in the same city, at the same masjid, looking at the same sky, but you're traveling, I'm a resident. You got to pray Maghrib, and I'm like, I'm going to wait 10 minutes. But for you, it's wajib. That doesn't seem like how the religion would be precise in that matter. So that's why, to me, Imam Ahmed's, and that's only one of his riwayah. His main position is that, no, it's the red. You see what I'm saying? But he has a second opinion. طيب, what is the evidence for these people? دليل الجمهور ما روي عن ما روى داود وغيره ما روى أبو داود وغيره قال حدثنا مسدد قال أخبرنا أبو عوانة عن أبي بشر عن بشير بن ثابت عن حبيب بن سالم عن النعمان بن بشير رضي الله تعالى عنه أنه قال أنا أعلم الناس بوقت هذه الصلاة صلاة العشاء الآخرة كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يصليها لسقوط القمر لثلاثة يعني اليوم الثالث من الشهر. Now, the statement يعني is from me. After that, he says, what's the proof of the majority, the jamhur? It is a hadith that is reported by Abu Dawood in his Sunan. He says that Musaddid narrated to us. He said that Abu Awana informed us on the authority of Bishr, on the authority of Abi Bishr, on the authority of Bashir ibn Thabit, on the authority of Habib ibn Salam, on the authority of Nu'man ibn Bashir, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He said, I am the most knowledgeable people about the time of this salah, the last Isha. And the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to pray it when when the moon would vanish by the 3rd night. Meaning, the moon has positions of when it disappears. That's why finding the moon on the 1st of the month is so hard. Right? So as the sun travels and the moon usually travels in the same positioning as the sun. So if you look in the morning, the moon is in the east. And if you look in the evening, the moon is in the west. And because it's traveling like this, the moon can often be overshadowed by the sun's light. That's why finding the moon on the 1st of the month, when we go out and look for the moon on the 30th night of Sha'ban, is it the first night of Ramadan or not? It's hard to see because the moon is low, it's close to the horizon, and the light of the sun is overshadowing it before the moon sets. The second night, it's a little bit higher up, and so it sets a little bit later, but it will still be red in the sky. The 3rd night, the moon sets, but it's higher up, but by the time it sets, the red is leaving the sky. By the 4th night, you can go out and see the moon at nighttime. You see what I'm saying? It will be dark and you can see the moon. So the moon has these positions that it goes through. That's why in the middle of the month, it's a full moon, it's high in the sky before it sets. You see what I'm saying? So, Nu'man ibn Bashir is saying, I am the most knowledgeable person about the time of this salat. What salat? The last Isha. Because there's 2 Ishas, just like there's 2 Ashi. So the last Isha, i.e. Salat al-Isha al-Ataba. He said the Prophet used to pray it around the time the moon would set on the 3rd night of the month. And so that time when you go and look, right? When Ramadan comes, if we have clear skies, go out and look. Find the moon and see when it sets on the 3rd night of the month and how the sky looks. And like this, you'll know what Bashir is saying, that the redness would be gone, right? The redness would be gone, and there would still be the whiteness, but the redness would be gone, right? And so that's the proof that they use. And that's a clear proof. That's a clear proof. That's why it's the position of the majority. I don't remember if it's Sahih or not. I did not write that down. Yalla, homework assignment. Musaddid ibn Musarhab, thiqah. Abu Awana, thiqah. Abi Bishr, I don't know who he is. Bashir ibn Thabit, I don't know who he is. Habib ibn Salam, I don't know who he is. And Nu'man ibn Bashir, Sahabi. So we got 3 individuals we got to figure out about. Bashir ibn Thabit, Habib ibn Salam, and Abi Bishr. And you got to figure out who Abu Bishr is, because it's just his kunya. Everybody else, I know their name, their father name, so you got to... So, who you want? I'm telling you right now. Work on your hafiza. Abu Bishr. No, you know what? We got 4. Abu Bishr. That's your, no.
Abu Bishr, that's all I get.
Abu Awana. That's all you get.
Abu Awana?
Abu Awana. That's easy. Trust me. I gave you the easy one. Abu Awana.
I don't want to spell it wrong.
Awana.
Awana.
Awana. There you go. Spell it.
Awana.
There you go. Abu Bishr.
And Bishr.
Bashir ibn Thabit. Habib ibn Salam. Abu Awana.
Abu Awana.
Right? Your clue is that Abu Awana is a teacher of Musaddid.
Awana.
Yeah, Abu Awana. Awana. Awana.
Oh, yeah, you have to find him.
He like that. Huh?
No, I'm not telling him. He's asking.
Awana.
Awana.
No. Abu Bishr. Are we going to do it now? Okay. We'll do it now. Why not? Yeah, Abu Awana. We'll do it now. We'll do it now.
Just making sure.
Yeah, we'll do it now. Abu Awana is a student of Musaddid. Abu Bishr, that's all you got, but he's a teacher of Abu Awana. And he's also a student of Bashir ibn Thabit.
Mine is
Huh? Yours is Bashir ibn Thabit. Well, just give me the grade.
You want the grade?
Yeah. Habib ibn Salam is mine. What you doing? You ain't finding it.
I got a book.
Saduq.
I ain't got no
You got a phone. You ain't got no apps.
No.
Talib ilm, you ain't got no apps. This is 21st century Talibism. This is 15th century Hijri Talibism. Like in the past, if you was a Talib and you didn't have a pen, they wouldn't consider you a true student.
Yeah, but this is
You're going to be a Talib, you ain't got no apps about hadith on your phone.
I want no.
Huh?
I want
You got the books at home, but you at home. Somebody came and fuddle. Is this hadith authentic?
I gotta check the book.
But this is from the ni'mah of Allah upon us. You used to have to travel all the way back home. You used to have to, now I can have my knowledge with me.
What's the app that I can use for people?
You can just Google the person's name too. And it'll come up with a website that talks about people.
Okay, that makes it easy.
Wallahi,
You don't got internet.
then you stuck. That's why you do it though, because I bet you who you won't forget after this. Abu Awana. Habib ibn Salam al-Ansari, Mawla, he's the freed slave of Nu'man ibn Bashir and his scribe. There was nothing wrong with him. He was from the 3rd generation. So he's from the Kibar al-Tabi'in. Habib ibn Salam. Bashir ibn Thabit, what they say about him?
He, like the 9 considered him Saduq.
The 9, he was in the 9. I doubt the 9 considered him Saduq.
It says Bashir ibn Thabit al-Basri Abu Muhammad al-Bazari آخره رأى صدوق من التاسعة.
Ra'a, you said Ra'a?
نعم رأى
Ra'a.
No
Ra'a.
رأى ألف همزة.
Ra'a Alif Hamza, that he saw. What book are you reading?
This is from تقريب التهذيب.
I ain't got no other name.
No, you. Abu Awana. But trust me, Abu Awana is the easiest one here.
Is it?
Yeah, he wrote a book. He's a famous scholar of hadith. He's the first person to write hadith in Basra. No, I don't go Mizan. We know he's in Abu Dawood, so we're going to look at Taqrib and Tahdhib. So we say Bashir ibn Thabit. He said he's from the 9th. That seems wrong. That seems wrong. Are you sure you got the right one? I'm pretty sure you got the wrong one. How do you know you got the wrong one? Hold on. Because we're going down. Who was my guy? Who was your guy's teacher?
What did you say?
Habib ibn Salam. So we got Musaddid. Everybody knows Musaddid. He has a book of hadith, right? That's where Abu Dawood got this from, Musaddid's book. So we don't even need to look up Musaddid. He's thiqh, Imam. Abu Awana was his teacher. Abu Bishr was his teacher. Bashir ibn Thabit was his teacher. Habib ibn Salam was his teacher. Habib ibn Salam was the student of Nu'man ibn Bashir. He was his freed slave and his scribe. Right? He was la ba'sa bihi. There was nothing wrong with him from the 3rd. The 3rd means that he was the kibar al-tabi'i, right? He wasn't alive when the Prophet was alive, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he was from the kibar al-tabi'in. Your person would have, where do you think Habib ibn Salam was at?
What do I think?
Yeah, where would you think he was at? Now, this doesn't always help you, but it can help you. Where do you think he was at? He was Nu'man's scribe. Where was Nu'man ibn Bashir at?
I'm not sure.
Sahabi, where do you think he was at?
Medina.
Medina.
Yeah.
Habib was from the 3rd. He was in Medina. Your guy was from the 9th from Basra. That's too big of a gap. You see what I'm saying? So is there another Bashir ibn Thabit?
I did a quick
I know.
search on here, but there should be, yeah, of course.
Not always, of course. Sometimes there's only one person with that name. Maybe it's a disconnected hadith. You see what I'm saying? Maybe it is that Bashir ibn Thabit, but he doesn't tell us who he met. And so that hadith is weak.
Right.
But before we do that, we got to look and see, is there another Bashir ibn Thabit? This is when looking in Taqrib al-Taqrib or Taqrib al-Tahdhib isn't good enough because he doesn't mention the teachers. So where you need to go is Tahdhib al-Kamal. If you go to Tahdhib al-Kamal for Habib ibn Salam or for Bashir ibn Thabit and see what teachers he had. Does your Bashir ibn Thabit have a teacher named Habib ibn Salam? If not, it's not the right one.
Doesn't have
Did you find anything about Abi Bishr?
it. Is it Ibn Salam with Alif or just bin? No.
Ibn Salam.
Ibn.
No Aleph. The Aleph, you write the Aleph. We're off topic. But Aleph, you write the Aleph if the name is on 2 different lines. Like if you write Abdullah ibn Muhammad or Abdullah ibn Muhammad, you write the Aleph. Or you write the Aleph when it's not the name. Like,
Kunya.
not like a kunya, like Sheikh al-Islam Ahmed ibn Abdul Halim ibn Taymiyyah.
Gotcha.
Right? Taymiyyah isn't his grand. You wouldn't put Banun Taymiyyah. You would put Aleph Banun Taymiyyah. Or Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawzi. You see what I'm saying? You find anything about Abi Bishr? Who you got?
جعفر بن أبي وحشية إياس اليشكري البصري ثم الواسطي أحد الأئمة والحفاظ وقال أحمد بن حنبل أبو بشر أحب إلينا من هارب بن عمرو وأوثق.
Okay. Who was your Abu
Bashir ibn Salam.
Bashir ibn Thabit al-Ansari? Bashir ibn Thabit al-Ansari, Mawla Nu'man ibn Bashir. He was also from the freed slaves of Nu'man ibn Bashir. He was considered from the Basriyin, so that's the right one. But you said he was from the 9th,
Yes.
and that's the part that's throwing me off. Rawa and Habib ibn Salam, Mawla Nu'man ibn Bashir. So that's the right Bashir ibn Thabit al-Basri. And he narrated on him Abu Bishr Ja'far ibn Abi Wahshiyah. Right? So we know that you got the right Abi Ja'far. What was his final grade? Did you get his final grade? What did he say about him again?
أو يعني كان أحب إلينا من هارب بن عمرو وأوثق.
That doesn't help us.
وقال يحيى
So, what book are you reading?
سير أعلم النبلاء.
Okay, Sir Alam Nubala. That's not a book of Rijal, right? That's a book of biographies, right? So he's just going to mention what everybody said. If you need a simple answer, as we are as beginning students, you want to go to Taqrib for the simple answer. Once you know the identity, find that person in Taqrib, because that will give you the simple answer. Taqrib al-Tahdhib. So everybody got the right people. Did you find Abu Awana yet?
I mean, I found it, but I didn't find it. Like, it was just a.
What's his name? Yeah. Yaqub ibn Ishaq ibn Ibrahim. And Naysaburi. Is that the right Abu Awana? I think that's a different Abu Awana. Well, go find his biography. Find out who his teachers were. Because there's 2 Abu Awanas in Hadith. There's Abu Awana, the one who was before Muslim, and there's Abu Awana, the one who was the student of Muslim.
We have to get this one.
This one is the one who was the before Muslim.
This one, the Muslim died.
Huh? Muslim died 242. I'm sorry, 262.
262.
Walaikum salam to Allah. Yeah.
262.
A Muslim died 262.
This is the one after. So we gotta get.
How do I know he's the one after? Just by hearing you say it. Because I know Abu Awana, I don't know his name though. But you said Naysaburi. Muslim was from where? Naysabur. So it automatically triggered to me that that's Abu Awana, the student of Muslim, because he was Muslim student in Naysabur.
Right.
So you're looking for the other Abu Awana. Uthman ibn Sa'id al-Darimi, he said about Yahya bin Ma'in about Bashir ibn Thabit, thiqah.
Yeah,
Rawalahu Abu Dawood with Tirmidhi with Nasa'i wa hadith Bashir ibn Nu'man ana a'lamun nas. You see? Even this hadith, Ibn al-Mizzi is mentioning this hadith in his biography. That shows you that this person is famous for this hadith. Abu Dawood and Tirmidhi and Nasa'i, they all narrated the hadith of Nu'man ibn Bashir. I am the most knowledgeable people about the time of this salat, the salat Isha, the last one. It's when the messenger used to pray it when the moon would set on the third night. ومن الرواة من قال في هذا الحديث أن أبي بشر أن حبيب بن سالم ولم يذكر فيه بشير بن ثابت والأول أصح قاله الترمذي ولهم شيخ آخر. Right? So we see that this hadith is probably going to be authentic from what it's looking like. We got لا بأس به حبيب بن سالم. We got Bashir ibn Thabit, who was also, I still don't get this from the Taziyah. Let's go to Taqreeb.
maybe it's a different one.
From a Sadisa, now it makes sense. Or it was just a typo. You said al-Basri. There's only two Bashir ibn Thabits.
Abu Muhammad.
Abu Muhammad, yes. Al-Ansari.
No.
That's not who you have? There's only two Bashirs ibn Thabit. You have Bashir ibn Thabit al-Ansari, and you have Bashir ibn Thabit al-Ansari al-Madani. So where was that first information you got from?
It was from this database. Scholars database.
Because I don't see any other Bashir ibn Thabit in Kutub al-Sitta. Right, Bashir ibn Thabit al-Ansari مولاهم بصري ثقة من السادسة قال ابن حبان وهم من قال فيه بشر يعني بغير الياء.
I just went, like I said, for quick.
This one doesn't even mention Abu Muhammad as his kunya. So it might not be the same person.
There's two right now.
Medini and Ansari, right?
Both of them Ansari.
Yeah, they're both Ansari, but one of them is Medini also. Bashir ibn Thabit al-Ansari, Bashir ibn Thabit al-Ansari, Medina, narrator.
You have to click one of them.
Okay, so we clicked the first one.
But I went to other one. That's where I found that it was thicker.
Yeah.
Instead of the sudoku.
I tell you guys a good app to download, Fumble. I make your life easy.
This seems like a nice website.
Abu Awana? Oh, the websites are fine. But a good app to have is called Mawsu'atu Tarajim wa Rijal. This one right here. I'm going to send it to the Masjid group. Share app.
So this was the Mawla. He was a Mawla of Yazid ibn Atta.
Sounds about right.
He was a Thiqa.
Uh-huh.
Sudukan.
Yeah. What faults did he have? Did he have Tadlis? I think he had Tadlis, right?
What's his name?
Abu Awana.
No, Abu Awana.
Oh, yeah, what's his name?
Wadah.
Wadda.
Wadah.
Yeah.
Wadah. Mawla Yazid ibn Atta.
And Bashir ibn Bishr, Abu Bishr was Ja'far ibn who? Abu Bishr was Ja'far ibn.
App not available.
Huh?
App not available.
You on iPhone?
Yeah.
Oh, did they take it out the App Store? Probably. It's an old app.
How did you send it?
I sent it to the WhatsApp group.
Oh, what's that?
Ja'far ibn Wa'abi Wahshiyah. What was his grade?
Oh, it's not available.
Missed out.
Yeah. You missed out? I don't know what to tell you. You missed out.
Take it off.
They don't update the app. So the new softwares, they don't update it. There's another app. Try this one. Because I never deleted it off my phone. I never delete apps. And that's one thing. Like we were talking, like all of this is how to be a student of knowledge. In the 21st and the 15th century. Don't update your phone until you make sure that app that you use every day is going to work. If you I had an app, I had a great Quran app. Did the balagha, did the tafsir, did i'rab, all of that. I updated my app, my phone, app don't work no more. And the developer decided to not go do it again. I just sent another app. This is a more comprehensive app. It has every book. So this developer, they used to have multiple books. But Now they broke them up and then they made one big app that has them all together. Does the second app work?
I didn't get it yet.
Did I send it to the right group?
Yeah, now it is. Now it is. Nope.
That one doesn't work either.
Do they have?
Try going to the App Store and look up Mektabatu al-A'lam. Go to the App Store and type in Arabic al-A'lam. That is one thing I will give Android, Mektabatu al-A'lam. Kutub Mutun Talib al-Ilm, nope. Nope. Shabakat al-Uluka, nope. Don't look like they have it no more. Alhamdulillah.
Give us another.
I don't use any other app. I mean, this app is amazing.
What about computer? Let's see.
They got an app? Yeah, you can Google and see if they just got an app for it. But this app, it has all of the books of Rijal. So like Sirah Alam Nubala, Mizan, Tarajim, Thiqat, all of the books of Rijal. That app, Maktabatu al-A'lam, it has all of the books of Rijal in it. Here, go to this website, digital-future.net. I feel sad. I feel blessed. Much gel.
Can't you share?
You can't share the app if it's not in the App Store. I don't think. I could try. Let me try to share it with you. I would have to go to my app, but because you can only share from the.
Can you do drop? AirDrop?
Where would you do it from? I go to my apps because it won't show up in the App Store for you to share it. Mektabatu. And how do you share it from the app itself? Oh yeah, that's what you do. I know what you do. I know what to do. You highlight, click, share app, Grand Masjid, send. Try that. Anyway, so it seems that this hadith is authentic. You could also just look and see what what Albani said about it by going to Sunan Abi Dawud, right? But it would seem that this hadith is authentic, so it would seem that. But obviously, there's some conversation about it because Abu Hanifa holds a different view. And Anas and Abu Hurairah and Ibn Abbas, in one of his opinions, held a different view. Now, maybe they didn't get the hadith. Maybe there's some other information. Maybe if we keep reading, we'll see what I put for the evidence for the other people. So that was the hadith of Nu'man ibn Bashir. Naam. I said, so he would pray when the moon would set on the third night of the month, وَذَلِكَ قَبْلَ الذِّهَابِ الْبَيَاضِ, and that would be before the whiteness would leave. So he would pray before the white would leave, and so that shows us that the white isn't the criteria of when Maghrib, when Isha comes in. Naam. وَقَدْ زَعْمَ بَعْضُهُمْ أَنَّ الْبَيَاضَ لَا يَذْهَبُ حَتَّى بَعْدَ طُلُوعِ الْفَجْرِ. Some of them, and who was the some of them? Amir Khalil ibn Ahmad. He said that the white, if you really look, the white will be there all the way until Fajr. Right? And so that shows us that the white can't be the criteria for when Isha comes in. Right? Because if the white stays all the way till Fajr, then it can't be the criteria for when Isha is. That's what his claim was. It's hard for us to tell because our electricity, our light pollution, we can't go out and see. But if you go out into the countryside and look, there's always that glow of light in the sky. So that's the end of that issue. That issue was pretty easy, right? We still have one more issue to talk about. What's the issue that's left to be talked about? I'm asking, what's the issue that's left to be talked about?
You want a coma or pass out?
Why not tell me the hadith?
عن عبد الله بن no.
قال أبو مصعب.
I didn't say I want to say it. قال مالك حدثنا مالك.
It's easy.
It's gold. What's next?
It's a golden chain.
Golden.
Yeah.
عن نافع. أن عبد الله بن عمر. أغمي. أغمي إذا أغمي له
عليه.
أغمي عليه
What happened?
his عقل
What about it?
فذهب العقل
ذهب عقله وذهب أغمي عليه أو
ف
فذهب عقله.
no. I thought you were saying the next.
No. أن ابن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنهما أغمي عليه فذهب عقله. أي.
فلم يصلي
And it's ف
فلم يصلي.
فلم يقضي.
فلم يقضي
فلم يقضي
الصلاة. فلم يقضي الصلاة. Huh? No, it's not the same thing. فلم يقضي الصلاة. فلم يقضي الصلاة. Because it's important. He didn't pray. Because he was what?
He was unconscious.
أغمي عليه. So if I just said that فلم يصلي, you'd be like, okay, so. But what about when he woke up? So you just say فلم يصلي, what's that mean? Ibn Umar was in a coma, he didn't pray.
He didn't pray, yeah.
Of course, so what? But when he got up, he prayed. La. فلم يقضي الصلاة. He didn't make up the salah.
Okay.
What did Imam Malik say?
مالك
قال مالك ذلك.
وذلك أن الوقت ذهب فأما من أفاق وهو في الوقت فإنه يصلي.
نعم. ذلك أن الوقت قد ذهب. فأما من أفاق وهو في الوقت فإنه يصلي. طيب, this is the third issue. So far we see that the conversation of Imam Malik is 3 issues.
Yes.
We have a narration here that we have to know. The narration of Ibn Umar, or the narration of Nafi, أن ابن عمر أغمي عليه فذهب عقله فلم يقضي الصلاة. Ibn Umar, first of all, we already know these people. Nafi, when he died.
136.
120. Right, somewhere around that 120. All right, 120. I remember Nafi' because what was the last narration we had with Nafi'?
Last one?
Mm-hmm.
An Umar.
The last narration with Nafi' was
First
an
hadith.
Umar. No, the last one. We had one before that.
Is it,
We did?
Yeah. Silsilatul Dhahab.
الذي تفوته صلاة العصر.
Yes.
Yeah, the hadith.
You said Umar. That's not Umar. That's Ibn Umar.
Ibn Umar,
Yeah, that's
hadith.
it's
I was
two
talking
different
about-
people.
I was talking about the hadith.
The hadith.
The first hadith, yeah.
The first hadith is the hadith of Umar. I mean, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz.
Hadith in his bab.
Okay, the
That's
first
what I'm
hadith in
talking
this
about.
bab. Okay. No, it's not in this bab.
What
No,
is
it's about
I'm
the-
not-
It's in the bab before it. Man adrak as-salat.
No, that's the golden chain. First
In this bab?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. It is the Jabal al-Wuqut salat. You're right. I'm tripping. Yeah, you're right. من تفوته صلاة العصر فكأنما وتر أهله وماله. That's why I remember, because we just did it, right? Nafi' died 120. Nafi' died 120. صح? Because in the narration of Dawood ibn Hussein, which is also in this bab, right? أنه أخبره مخبرون.
Yes.
No, that's not.
That's in the last bab.
previous bab.
That's where I remember it from. Because Ikrimah died 105. Yeah, and I remember I made the mistake last time. I said Nafi died 105. It was Ikrimah died 105, 120. And Ikrimah died 105. But anyway, Nafi, he died 120. Nafi, he died 120. But Abdullah bin Umar, when he died? What's his kunya? Abu Abdurrahman, when he died? 73, 74, yes. All right, Ibn Abbas died when?
90.
87.
Ibn Abbas died before him. If I'm not mistaken, it's 68. All right, Ibn Abbas died before him. Even though he was younger than him, Ibn Abbas died before him. طيب, نافع أن عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنه أغمي. الإغماء. طيب. This conversation is going to center around understanding the difference between 3 things. الإغماء والنوم والجنون. الإغماء وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. والنوم والجنون. These are 3 realities that you have to be able to understand the difference to understand this topic. طيب, what is known? What is sleep?
Close your eyes, you pass out.
Okay, what's the difference between that and Going
It's
unconscious.
a little taste of death.
Going in a coma.
It's
You see what I'm saying?
You're not
Leisure.
aware of your
Leisure.
surroundings. You're not
Leisure.
aware.
What's the difference of that and a coma?
it's a leisure.
Coma is
Leisure is close.
closer.
Sleep, one of the differences, so sleep is the inability to control one's faculties.
Sleep.
Sleep. You have no control over your faculties. Your consciousness is covered by choice. You can go to sleep, right? You have the option. You want to go to sleep? I say go to sleep.
I can't.
You can't because Allah takes your soul and gives it back, but you can choose to go to sleep, right? It's a willing, it's a leisure, it's something you decide to do that blocks your senses. We don't say takes your senses, right? It doesn't take your senses. It blocks your senses by choice, right? While a coma is a sickness.
So that was a coma?
No, that was sleep. Well, the statement of Ibn Umar is ughmiya. Al-ighma is to be in a coma, right?
Unconscious.
Is to lose your senses because of a sickness. And somebody might word it different. What was the difference? To block your senses, to lose your senses, right? How do you know if somebody's asleep or in a coma?
He ain't waking up.
Which one?
The coma.
Like,
The coma. Why?
because we tried and
he's
he ain't
sick.
waking up.
Because we tried to wake him and he didn't. His senses are what? Lost. The person who was asleep, if you try to wake him up, what will happen? He'll wake up because his senses aren't lost, they're just blocked. So if you do something heavier than what is blocking his senses, he'll come back. Somebody might be sleeping hard and you go, hey, wake up. Is he in a coma? Well, I tried to wake him up, he didn't get up. His senses are blocked. You need to do something heavier, stronger than what's blocking his senses. And when he is intabih, yantabih. Lamma nubbih, yantabih. When he is startled, he arises. Right? So you choose it. It blocks your senses. It doesn't take them away. And when you're alarmed, you get up. When somebody awakes you, you wake up. While a coma is the loss of your senses. You can stab a person in a coma with a knife. They're not waking up. Why?
His sensors are lost.
Because they don't have them. Because of a sickness. بسبب مرض, right? Injury, sickness, something like that caused it. It wasn't a choice, right? And so you can know they're in a coma because no matter what you do, they won't awake, right? A boxer gets knocked out. Is he in a coma?
A little bit.
Huh? Think about it. If we're using that as the definition, a boxer gets knocked out. Is he in a coma? What do they put under his nose?
Senses.
That's smelling salt. And what does he do?
Sense.
He is aware of it and he gets his faculties back. He's not in a coma. He was knocked out, but he wasn't in a coma. You put somebody in a sleeper hold.
Right.
Is it a coma hold? That's your sleeper hold.
Right.
What's going to happen?
He's gonna choke him out.
He's going to choke. He's going to pass out. Is he asleep or in a coma?
sleep.
He's asleep. Because you can bring him back, right? A person who's in a coma, he's still alive. He's breathing. The things that happen involuntarily still happen. That's how we know he's not what?
Dead.
That's how we know he's not dead. Because he's still breathing, right? His eyes still work, meaning they function in his head. But he's lost his senses.
People in a coma can hear while they're in a coma?
I don't know. I've never been in a coma.
thought I heard something like that.
This is the questions that kuffar ask, right? When they're in a coma, can they still hear you? Some people say yes, some people say no. But this is the reality of what we're talking about because the three things are connected. When you're asleep, can you hear?
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe.
But how many times you've been in a dream and what was happening in the outside world made it into your dream?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because your senses are still working. Even though you're unconscious about that, because your senses are blocked, they're still working.
Right.
If we say a coma is the loss of senses, then you would say, no, they can't hear. But that's the argument. Where does a coma begin and sleep end? There's another reality, which is insanity. What is insanity?
Lost your sanity.
What is it, though? What's the difference between a coma, insanity, and sleep?
You lost your aql, intellect.
You've lost control of your faculties
But you're not
without them being lost or you being blocked from them. You don't have control, but you're still awoke.
Right.
You're still doing, you're still functioning, you're still capable. A person can be insane and eat and drink and hear and speak. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's the loss of the will of your faculties, right? To exercise, to implement control over your faculties. While sleep is to have your faculties blocked from you, while a coma is to lose your faculties in totality. You see what I'm saying? So a person who's insane, can they hear?
Yes.
A person who's asleep, can they hear? Their hearing still works, it's just they're blocked from it.
Right.
The person who's in the coma, can they hear? According to this definition, you would say, no, they can't hear because their faculties have been lost. Everybody understand that? If you understand these three realities, then we have a problem. Well, before that, let's talk about what we talked about earlier. There are three types, there are three classifications when it comes to religious responsibility, what we call taklif, right? Or what some of them, they refer to it as al-ahliya, people who are suitable to do acts of worship, right? If you do this act of worship, will it be accepted? Do you have the responsibility? And will that action be accepted? You understand these two things? Have you been told to do it? Is the responsibility on you? Have you been mukallaf? Have you been given this religious responsibility? And then the second thing is the ahliya of, is it accepted if you do it? And so people are three categories. You have a person who has been given responsibility and it is accepted if they do it. Let's make four categories then.
Same.
A person who has been given responsibility and it is accepted if they do it. That is a sane adult person. A sane adult person, their sanity means that they've what? They've been given responsibility. Adult means that they've been given responsibility. Or let's word it a different way. Sanity means that their action is accepted if they do it, because they chose to do it, right? Their action is suitable to be accepted. And being an adult means that they have been given the responsibility.
They're ready for this.
Right? They have been given the responsibility. They're ready for the responsibility. While their sanity means that they chose to do the action, so it's valid to be accepted. It's possible that it's accepted. That's a sane adult. Then we have somebody who hasn't been given the responsibility, but it is accepted if they do it.
Child.
And that is a child. They have not been given the responsibility because they're not an adult. But since they're sane, if they chose to do the action is accepted. A child prays dhuhr, and then before the time for dhuhr leaves, they grow up. Do they have to pray dhuhr again? Why not?
They already did it.
Because they already did it. And there are some exceptions like Hajj, because for Hajj to be accepted, you have to be an adult. But for Salat to be accepted, you don't have to be an adult. And so when they performed it, it was accepted. What about an insane person? Prays dhuhr. And before the time leaves, they gain their sanity. Do they have to pray again?
But were they not aware though?
They were insane.
So they weren't aware.
That's my point.
So how did they know they were doing it?
They saw everybody standing, bowing, ruku, and they ran into the line, stood, bowed, and ruku'd with them. He got to pray again. Why he got to pray again?
He wasn't there.
because the lack of sanity stopped his salat from being accepted. Religiously, he was an adult, so he was what? Addressed with the responsibility. But since his sanity made him somebody unable to perform it, the obligation was removed. Then we have somebody who, so those are three: sane adult, insane adult, sane child. Now we have a person who is in a coma. Where does he fall in the spectrum? If he was not in a coma, he'd be a what? Sane adult. But now that he's in the coma, do we compare him to the insane, or do we compare him to the sleep? Right? Where do we compare him here? If we look at the hadith that we mentioned earlier, or we didn't mention it, the pen has been lifted on three people. Who are the three people that the pen has been lifted off of? Right? The child until it reaches puberty, the sleep until they awake, and the insane until they gain sanity. These are three people. Are they all the same? Some people like to look at this hadith and think that they're all the same. But in reality, the way I like to look at this hadith is that it's showing you the three classifications of people. A child until it reaches puberty. Because a child can do the action, but they haven't been given the responsibility. So there's no pin of responsibility on them. Right? There's no pin of responsibility. As far as the pin of performance, then their actions get written down. They get good deeds for doing it. They get the pin of performance. They don't have the pin of responsibility. The sleeping person until they awake, they have the pin of responsibility. The obligation is written on them, right? But they don't have the pin of performance. They do not have to do it until they awake. And if it wasn't for the other hadith we mentioned earlier, we would say they don't have to do it. But the other hadith we mentioned earlier shows us that the pin of performance is lifted, but not the pin of responsibility. You see what I'm saying? Because the Prophet said when you sleep on a salat, you got to pray it when you remember. So the responsibility was still there even though they were asleep, but while they were asleep, they didn't have to perform it. So if you were asleep and you didn't pray, are you sinning? The Prophet said, "La tafrita fi an-nawm." There's no deficiency. There's no negligence in sleep. Negligence is when you delay one salat until the next one enters. So the pin of performance is lifted off of them, but not the pin of responsibility. The last person is who? The insane. What pin is removed from him? Both. He is not responsible. He is not addressed with any obligations. As well as if he does them, they're not valid. So even if he did them, they wouldn't be accepted. If I carried an insane person with me on Hajj and took them to all the places, and they happened to say all the things that you say or do at Hajj, but because they were insane, their performance does not count. So the pin of responsibility is lifted, as well as the pin of performance. So this hadith shows us these categories: pin of responsibility, pin of performance, and then some people have both pins removed. Right? Rufi al-qalam ala thalath. The pin has been lifted on three, or off of three. Now we get to the person who is in a coma. Which one is he? Some people say the pin of responsibility is still on him. And so he's like the sleep. What does a sleep person have to make up?
What he missed.
What about if he was asleep for 2 years?
Dang, that's how we are, man.
The person who sleep would have to make it all up.
What if he's sleeping? What if he's making salah and he's aware?
Then he's not asleep. Because if he's aware, he has his senses.
I'm talking about the coma. We're talking about coma, right?
We're talking right now. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But right now we're looking at the comparison.
Right.
If you say he's compared to the person that's sleeping, a person who's sleeping has to do what?
Make it up when he wakes up.
And if they were asleep for a day, they have to make up the salah. If they slept for 3 days, not a coma, sleep for 3 days, they would have to do what?
Make up the salah.
Make up 3 days worth of salah.
What about this hadith?
What hadith?
فذهب عقله فلم يقضي الصلاة.
Well, we're talking about different opinions. Who are you comparing the person in a coma to? If you're comparing him to the sleep person, then the pin of responsibility is still there.
Make it up.
He got to make it up. If you're comparing him to the insane person, there's no pin. He's not addressed with the action to begin with, and he doesn't have to make it up. And you can't compare him to the child because there's no resemblance. You see what I'm saying? Right. The person in the coma doesn't resemble a child, so he's not even considered here. He is between two realities: the sleeper or the insane.
I would say the other.
Right?
Sleeper.
First thing, do you know how to compare? What are the different types of comparisons? What are the different types of comparisons? Remember, we said this hadith, this topic specifically, is the one that puts it into the Zahiriyya position. There's no qiyas. Because this person who is in a coma, there is no evidence about him. And when he comes out of his coma, you're going to tell him to do what? Either pray or not. If you tell him to pray, what did you compare him to?
Sleep.
And if you tell him not, what did you compare him to?
Insane.
You had to choose one.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And it's only qiyas. So what are the different types of qiyas? Obviously, you can divide qiyas into different topics or different classifications based on how you're looking at it. We're talking about the different overall ways of qiyas. The first of them, the most greatest of them, is called qiyas al-awlawi. Qiyas al-awlawi. More obvious comparison. This is the only type of comparison you can use with Allah. Can we compare as it relates to Allah? Can we compare when it comes to talking about Allah? Like I can say this phone is like that phone. That is what? That's a comparison. You and me are alike. That's a what? Me and this water are different. It's a comparison. Can we compare when it comes to Allah? The kind of comparison we do is called qiyas al-awlawi. More obvious comparison. Right? Can Allah see? By comparison, how do you prove Allah can see? Because you can see. Who gave you sight? Allah. The one who gives sight more obviously is entitled to have sight. You see what I'm saying? That's a more obvious comparison. Allah sets obvious comparisons for himself in the Quran. Which one's harder? Making something out of nothing without any prior blueprint to go on, or putting something back together?
First one.
The first one. قُلْ مَنْ يُحْيِي الْعِظَامَ وَهِيَ رَمِيمٌ. Who's going to put these bones back together when they're dust? What does Allah say? قُلْ يُحْيِيهَا الَّذِي أَنْشَأَهَا أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ. He'll bring them back to life, the one who brought them in the first place. Right? وَهُوَ أَهْوَنُ عَلَيْهِ. Allah says about him, and it's easier for him. That's what kind of qiyas is that? More obvious. أَأَنْتُمْ أَشَدُّ خَلْقًا أَمِ السَّمَاءُ بَنَاهَا. Are you harder to create or the sky? Which one?
The sky.
So if Allah can create the sky, Allah can create you. What kind of comparison is that? Qiyas awlawi. more obvious comparison. If Allah can do this, He can do that. Right?
Makes sense.
That's the only comparison you can use with Allah. They also refer to it sometimes as وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. And to Allah is the highest example. Right? Would a mother throw her baby into the fire? Allah has more mercy for His creation than that mother does for her baby. What is that?
Comparison.
It's a comparison. But what kind of comparison is that? You said to me, "Laysa kamithlihi shay." You said that to me, right?
I didn't get what you were going.
But now I've seen you're right. Laysa kamithlihi shay.
Right.
Because laysa kamithlihi shay.
You resemble. Yeah.
But at the same point in time, this is a comparison of what? More obvious. If you can comprehend that a mother wouldn't throw her baby into the fire, Allah doesn't want to throw His slaves into the fire. That's a وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. And to Allah is the highest example. To Allah is al-qiyas al-awlawi. That's the first type of qiyas. The second type of qiyas is qiyas al-shumul. Qiyas of inclusion. Now we see why we can't do qiyas of inclusion with Allah, because Allah is what?
Excluded from creation.
Give me an ayah. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ
Ahad.
ahad. He's not included in anything else. Al-witr. He is excluded. He is odd. He is not included with anything else. So we can't do the qiyas of inclusion with Allah. What is qiyas of inclusion? Phones break. What does that include? That includes this phone, right? What else does it include? That phone. What else does it include? Qiyas of inclusion. Every phone is included in it. Why is every phone comparable in that? Because they're all included in the term phone. That's the qiyas of inclusion. When you're looking to do comparisons with things, sometimes there's qiyas of inclusion. For example, khamr is haram.
All types of fun.
That includes Schlitz. That includes Jerk. That includes Hennessy. That includes Mad Dog. That includes Cisco. Whatever type of alcohols you're thinking about, because they are all what? Includes Budweiser, Michelob, Ultra, Dry, Light, because they're all, Smirnoff, whatever you want to go with.
What? Yo.
Stop. That what you want here? Mentioning your favorites? It includes, alhamdulillah. It includes because they are all what? Included in the overall term of khamr. Right? That's qiyas of inclusion. That's number two. What's the third type of qiyas? Qiyas al-dalala. The comparison because of the reason. Right? They're not the same things, but they share the same reason. Marijuana is haram. Why?
It changes your mind.
What is that compared to?
Khamr.
Is marijuana khamr?
No.
No. Khamr is that liquid that you drink. But it has the same reason. And so that's qiyas al-dalala. We see why we can't do qiyas al-dalala with Allah, because there's nothing else like Him. Laysa kamithlihi shay. Nothing else has the same qualities as Him that you can say this one is like this one because these reasons. Water and Pepsi are halal. Are they the same thing? Why are they both halal?
There's no evidence to prohibit.
Because they're both tahir. Right? They both have the same reason, even though they're two different things. Nobody hasn't yet. That's called qiyas dalala, when they have the same reason. There's another type of qiyas. That's number 3. Number 4, qiyas shabah. Qiyas shabah. And number 5 is qiyas nafy al-farq. Nafy al-farq. There's no difference. What's the difference between these two? Sit down.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
La ilaha illallah. Wa la ilaha illallah.
Now, so qiyas al-shabah, which is number 4, qiyas al-shabah is when one thing is pulled between 2 different realities that it resembles. It resembles this and it resembles that. And so you have to decide which one does it resemble more. You see what I'm saying? Like, for example, a mule. A mule resembles what? What is a mule? It's a mix between a donkey and a horse. Horses are permissible. Donkeys are not permissible. If you say horses are mammals, donkeys are mammals, a mule is a mammal. That's qiyas of what? Inclusion. All of these are mammals, right? Or reason. If a donkey is a mammal and a horse is a mammal, then it only goes to reason that a mule is going to be a what? A mammal. So we're not trying to figure out the answer of what is its classification, right? I will use a different qiyas for that. Right. When I want to know the religious ruling, I'm looking, okay, horses are mubah. Donkeys are haram. Horses are tahir. Donkey, we don't want to say haram. Horses are tahir. Donkeys are najis. What is a mule? It's pulled between both realities. Yeah. So I have to decide which reality is it closer to. And to do that, that's what they call qiyas al-shabah. Which one does it resemble more? Right? And we'll say it resembles a mule more. Right? Why does it resemble a mule more?
What is what?
A mule. I mean, a mule resembles a donkey more.
Okay.
Why does it resemble a donkey more? Because haram is stronger than halal. Najis is stronger than tahir. You see what I'm saying? And it's exactly because of the hadith. إِذَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ فَاجْتَنِبُوا وَإِذَا نَهَيْتُكُمْ عَنْ شَيْءٍ إِذَا نَهَيْتُكُمْ عَنْ شَيْءٍ فَاجْتَنِبُوا وَإِذَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. So haram is stronger than halal. Donkey has to be closer to, mule has to be closer to donkey. A cat's meow. Meow. Permissible or haram? Permissible. Music. Permissible or haram? Meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Permissible or haram?
It's some music now.
It's not music.
That's music.
No, it's not. Me going meow, 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 meow is not music. Music had a harp, it had a flute, it had a drum.
You had that flow with it.
It struggled between what?
The two.
Two realities. Is that music?
No.
Is that music?
Ooh.
Is that music?
That's getting close now.
I hit my chest. Hitting my chest is permissible.
Yes.
Clapping my hands,
Is it?
outside of certain circumstances, snapping my fingers, those things are permissible. But when I go, is that permissible or not?
Uh-oh.
It's struggled between what?
Too young.
2 realities. I have to decide which reality is it closer to. Which one? If you say, Abdul Hakim, you can't do music, I say, I agree. Music is haram. What is music? It's that instrument, it's the drum, it's the flute, it's the harp, it's the guitar. Right? It's not singing. Music is not singing. Singing is something different.
That's what they do in music.
You can sing without music.
You can sing without music. And I'm not saying is singing permissible or not. I'm saying music is not singing.
Right.
Music is the instrument.
They say Rina is also.
Huh?
Rina is also.
That's a different conversation. We're not talking about can a woman sing, can a man sing. When you're in the shower and you go, oh, I'm showering, I'm shower. Is that singing?
Yes.
Is that permissible or haram? So we're not talking about singing. We're talking about music.
Music, right. Instruments.
And that's instruments.
Right.
You tell me, Abdul Hakim, music is haram. I say, I agree. Hakim, music is haram. Astaghfirullah.
All right.
I beat my chest.
And
That's not music.
right, but it's copying their thing.
You have to go into the.
You have to decide which one do you think it's closer to. You say copying their thing. Can I eat beef bacon?
Right.
Make me sit down.
Yeah.
Can I wear fake silk?
Right.
Can I wear fake gold?
Right.
Why?
That's kind of resembling, now.
No, we're not resembling. It's not that. It's not those
If
things.
somebody saw you, it'd be like, look at him.
Well, maybe if you want to say
You know what I mean?
I'm putting myself in a bad situation, that's a different conversation.
Right.
But the question is, if I eat beef bacon,
Right.
is that permissible?
Yeah.
Why?
There's beef.
Because it's beef. If I drink a Holston that's not alcoholic,
Right, yeah. It's permissible.
it's permissible. It's just liquid water with barley in it.
Right.
Prophet used to drink the beef. So the question is, huh?
Was it almond?
Omar used to drink barley water, yeah. But Prophet used to drink the beef. That's all it is. So, beating my chest is not haram.
Right.
Snapping my finger is not haram.
Right.
But if you make it into a beat fashion, like a music. No, to make it like.
That's how they started, man. They put
That's
that,
my point.
They put that beat, and then they just start adding some stuff to it.
What am I doing right now?
Beating.
Tempo.
Is that haram? Are you going to tell me?
What are you doing it for?
I'm not talking about Nia.
No, I don't think so. To me,
No, not that.
it's okay. What's the problem?
No.
You say this is not haram.
It's just
Unless maybe you give your attention.
Oh, now
That's
we
different,
go.
I don't know.
That sounds like a heartbeat now.
Exactly. I'm trying to teach you a heartbeat. Is that haram?
I mean, not. I mean, I don't know. I know it's. I wouldn't do it.
Now you kind of stretching it.
Is it haram? It's hard to make this determination because it's shared between 2 realities. So how you see this issue is based on what you think it resembles more. When I do this, you don't think that resembles music at all, do you? But when I go,
That's like beats.
that sounds like Star Wars.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Right? Alhamdulillah. The point of it is that now you start to see, man, that sounds like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Copying their style.
I don't like that. Why don't you like it? That sounds like Star Wars. Yeah, but it's not music. No, that's not music, but that sounds like Star Wars. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, Kias is Sheba.
You got these Muslims now doing like without vocals, but it's like they do.
Oh,
No, it sounds like a song. No, it sounds like actual song.
It sounds like music. Music with your mouth. Biz Markie, right? MashaAllah, most of you guys don't know who I'm talking about. Biz Markie, his whole thing was make music with your mouth. Right?
Yeah.
Is that permissible or impermissible? I don't like it. I
Like
keep
beatbox.
what you doing. You see what I'm saying? But it needs an answer. Is there a hadith about it? Is there a hadith, don't make music with your mouth? Whoever makes music with their mouth? No.
But they didn't have they had guitars back
They
then.
had guitars, they had flutes, they had ukuleles, they had all
They
that
didn't
back
have these
then.
electrical ones.
They didn't have electrical ones that do what they call nowadays drops.
Right.
A drop is when you take a regular sound and you make it into music.
Right.
Meow, meow. Who let the dogs out? Woof, 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 woof. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Is that halal? Is that halal? Can I let my kids listen to Who Let the Dogs Out if I take the music out of it? And they go, woof, 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 woof. Who let the dog, woof, 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 woof. Is that permissible or not? You have to give an answer now. I'm going to say what?
Stay away.
Okay, that looks like music to me. That sounds like music to me. Okay, there's no guitar. Yeah, there's no flute, but man, that sounds like music to me. When the brothers get to harmonizing on a thing and doing that nasheed and I'm like, okay, nasheed is permissible.
It is.
Nasheed, why not? It's just talking. Fadlu, how you doing today? Fadlu, when you going to get paid? Fadlu, can you pass me the lays? Fadlu, I must say you are a maid. Zing, but I can't sing, so I'll just say it. It's just words. But when I start, and all that extra stuff, now I'm like, what? Man, that sounds like music to me, huh? Okay, nasheed is permissible. Yeah, nasheed is permissible. Okay, but that sounds like music. You see what I'm saying? Why would I say that? Qiyas al-shaba. To me, it looks more like music.
Right.
If it don't look like music to you, it's between you and Allah.
Right.
Okay.
No.
No, excuse me. What if I done heard of all different types of adans, and some of them sound like it's like music.
Can't stand them. Can't stand that. Sound like music to me.
Music.
Sound like music.
How's it?
Ibn Umar, I talked to the kids about this in school. You saw we added it to the WhatsApp group. Ibn Umar said to a man said to Ibn Umar, I love you for the sake of Allah. Ibn Umar said, as far as me, I hate you for the sake of Allah. I said, what do I do? He said, you sing the adhan and you get paid to do it. Allahu Akbar. What's this? What kind of adhan is this? Is that how you say the adhan? How you say the adhan? How you say Allahu Akbar?
Allahu Akbar, Allah.
How you say Allahu Akbar?
Allahu Akbar.
How you say Allahu Akbar? Allahu Akbar.
خلاص.
خلاص. Okay, now the Prophet, تغني بالأذان, no problem. ليس منا من لن يغني بالقرآن. He's not from us the one who doesn't يتغنى بالقرآن. Make it sound good. Do we have rules for that? What's the rules for that? Tajweed. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. MashaAllah, you sound nice. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Did I hit 7 high notes? You notice that sometimes when people say the adhan, they do that tarjih in the adhan. Allahu Akbar. Do you know what you did? You added letters.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more letters.
You added letters.
And that's what they do everywhere in many schools.
So the point of it is qiyas al-shaba. Anyway, the last type of qiyas is what is known as qiyas adam al-farq. There's no difference between them. This one is hard to give an example for me, and you can Google it, like qiyas adam al-farq. But like, for example, this book. Is this book, okay, I don't have one here.
Adam al-Farq is void of.
I can't tell a difference. Let's say, for example, what did they used to write on back in the day? What did they write on? They wrote on what?
Leaves.
Leaves.
Yeah,
What else?
bones.
Bones. Stones. What did they not write on?
On haram things maybe. I know. Like,
Paper.
Yeah, they didn't write on paper.
They didn't write on paper.
Yeah.
So if I tell you that it's okay to write on paper, and you say, what's my delay? I say, there's no difference.
But
Adam
they
al-Farq.
write also on woods.
They wrote on wood.
Yeah.
There's no difference between paper and wood. It's just something to write. There's no difference. Are they the same things?
No.
Huh?
Writings? Yeah,
No. This paper and what they wrote on, are they the same thing?
No.
They're different things. So it's not qiyas al-awlawi. It's not qiyas al-shamul, because it's not included in what they wrote on. It's not qiyas al-dalala. It's not qiyas al-shaba. I say, why can I write on this paper? The answer is what? Adam al-farq. There's no difference. Can I use toilet tissue?
Right on?
No, toilet tissue. Can I use tissue?
Yes.
Why? The Prophet never used toilet tissue. Prophet used stones, Akhi.
Yeah.
How do I know I can use toilet tissue? There's no difference between toilet tissue and this. Are they the same thing?
No.
So there is a difference, but when I look at it, it's there ain't no difference. It does the same thing. So qiyas al-adam al-farq is close to qiyas al-dalala. But it's when you don't know the reason. Qiyas al-dalala, I know the reason. Adam al-farq is like, I can't tell the difference. I don't see any obvious thing that makes it different. You see what I'm saying? So those are the different ways to do qiyas. Like, we did all of that to answer the question. The person who is in a coma, who is he? Is he asleep? What kind of qiyas do you need to determine that? Qiyas is shaba. He is between two realities. The reality of the sleeper and the reality of the insane. And whichever one you think he is closer to is the one who you give him their ruling. Abdurrahman is confused. How is he close to the insane? Why is a person in a coma? Because of a sickness. A person who is insane, healthy or sick? Sick. A person who's in a coma lost what?
Memory. Conscience.
He didn't lose his consciousness. Oh, he lost his consciousness. Okay, I'm thinking about the person who's insane. Person insane, did they lose their consciousness?
No.
No, they're still awoke. But that's closer to who? The sleeper. The sleeper lost consciousness.
Yes.
The sleeper chooses to go to sleep. Does the insane choose to be insane?
No.
The person in a coma, does they choose to go in a coma?
No, they don't choose.
Okay, the person who's insane, can you snap them out of it? The person who's asleep, can you snap them out of it?
Yes.
The person who's in a coma, can you snap them out of it? Who is the person in the coma more like? The insane. You see what I'm saying? But there's an issue because where does the line between sleep and coma draw? How do I know if somebody's a heavy sleeper or if they're in a coma? Can you have a coma for a minute?
Maybe, I don't know.
And so
just 1 minute?
for just 1 minute. Can I go into a coma
And then
for
come
10
back.
minutes and then wake up?
For 10
And how do I know if that was a nap or a coma? You see what I'm saying?
minutes. Difficult to-
And because of this, the scholars, they started to disagree about this issue. Let's wrap it up so we don't have to come back to it next time. I said that the first position is that the person who is in a coma is comparable to the person who was sleeping. وهو قول أحمد. This is the opinion of Ahmed. ويستفاد من قول عمران ibn Husayn. Imran ibn Husayn had a statement like this. The person in the coma is like the sleeper, right? He has to make up every salah. So that means if you were in a coma for a day, you have to make up a day's worth of salah. If you were in a coma for a year, you have to make up a year's worth of salah. Why? Because the person who's in a coma is like the person who is asleep. And the person who is asleep still has the pin of what? The pin of responsibility. So you got to make it up. That's if you say the person who's in a coma is like the person who is asleep. And what Sahabi held this view? Imran ibn Husayn, and this is the madhab of Imam Ahmed. Another view is, and we'll finish inshallah, just bear with us. Because of this view and the statement of Imran ibn Husayn, the person who's in a coma, he must make up every salat that he missed. The second opinion is that the person who is in the coma is compared to the insane person. The person who is in the coma is compared to the insane, and this is what is benefited from the opinion of Malik and Ash-Shafi'i based on this author of Ibn Umar. And Ibn Umar أغمي عليه فذهب عقله فلم يقضي الصلاة. Ibn Umar went unconscious. How long was he unconscious for? Don't know. Didn't mention. What happened when he went unconscious?
He didn't wake up.
He lost his intellect. ذهب عقله. What did he do when he woke up? He didn't make up the salah. Why not? Because he's like the insane. So if you missed the salat, if you went unconscious at dhuhr and you didn't catch a rak'ah and you wake up and it's asr, what do you pray? Asr. You don't pray anything else beside asr. because you were in a coma at dhuhr time. And if you were in a coma at dhuhr time, then the pin of obligation is removed from you.
So they assume like he's insane.
No, yeah, they're comparing him to somebody who's insane. It's steady way. We got to finish this chapter, inshallah. Anybody who's rushing for salah. The next thing is, so that's the second opinion. That's based on the opinion of Ibn Umar. وَلِلْفَائِدَ أَنَّ الْوَقْتَيْنِ عِنْدَ هَؤُلَاءِ. But the people who hold this position, they, like Malik and Shafi'i, they both say that the time for Dhuhr and Asr is one time. And the time for Maghrib and Isha is one time. So if you go insane for Dhuhr and you wake up at Asr, they still say you have to pray what? Dhuhr. Because Dhuhr and Asr to them is one time. But if you went insane, if you went unconscious at Dhuhr and you didn't wake up till Maghrib, you don't have to pray Dhuhr or Asr. Because you were unconscious. In Ibn Umar, lam yaqdi salah. Not because you were asleep, because you were in a coma. There's a third opinion. That separates between the two, that gives a little bit of detail. And that is that if you are asleep or that if you are in a coma for anything lesser than a complete day and night, right? 5 salat or less, or 24 hours or less, right? And this is the view of Abu Hanifa. If it's 24 hours or less or 5 salat or less, you make up. But if it's 6 salat, you don't. Now they consider it a coma, right? So if you slept, like if you were traveling, have you ever stayed up 3 days in a row?
Yeah, I did too.
You did too? The most I've ever done was 3 days in a row, 72 hours. When you slept after that too, how long would you sleep for?
It depends how heavy sleep you are.
That's what I'm saying. When you was up 3 days in a row, you might sleep 26 hours straight.
Missing prayers like
And if nobody's pushing you or tapping you or talking to you, you were asleep. Because of there's such a hard line to tell, Abu Hanifa says if you were gone for 5 salat, we'll consider you in a coma.
even if you are sleeping.
Well, no, but how can you tell the difference? You were asleep. There was nobody to push you, to tug you, to wake you up. Next day, 26 hours later, you wake up. Were you in a coma? According to Abu Hanifa, you would consider yourself in a coma. So that's why this issue is so hard to decipher. And there is a Sahabi, Ammar ibn Yasir, he held that view. If you are out for less than 5 salat or 5 salat or less, you make it up. But if you're out for more than 5 salat, you don't. Ammar, his actual opinion was that he was out for a whole day and he made up the salat. But that's how they interpret it. The Ahnaf, they say, well, that's because it was more than a day or less than a day. Ammar ibn Yasir, yeah, min as-sabiqeen. So we talked about that. We talked about that. So at the end of the day, our job isn't to know who's right or wrong. Our job is to do what? Understand Malik. Do we understand what Malik said? He narrated the hadith of Ibn Umar, and Ibn Umar أغمي عليه فذهب عقله فلم يقضي الصلاة. قال مالك ذلك لأن الوقت خرج. If you were in a coma and the time left, ذلك لأن الوقت ذهب. If you were in a coma and the time left, you don't have to make it up because they compare him to who?
The insane.
The insane. And the insane, you can go insane for spouts. You can be insane right now and insane later. So if you were insane at Dhuhr time and then you became sane at Maghrib, you don't got to pray Dhuhr. You were insane. And so they say the person in the coma, the same thing. ذَلِكَ أَنَّ الْوَقْتَ قَدْ ذَهَبَ فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَفَاقَ. But if anybody regains consciousness during the time, فَإِنَّهُ يُصَلِّي. فَإِنَّهُ يُصَلِّي. Because أدركت ركعة ومن أدرك ركعة فقد أدرك الصلاة. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. We finished that chapter.